Chapter 1910. Staring at the face so close to him, Xing Hun's face suddenly shrank. He would never forget that hateful face. It was like an imprint that would be buried in his heart forever. Zichen, you bastard. Xing Hun glared at Dustless. He was so angry that his nose was crooked when he heard Dustless call him a bastard. After all, he was once a guardian of the school of Yin Yang. How dare Dustless call him a bastard? I will never let you off. Even though he had been severely injured by Dustless's previous attack, Xing Hun stood up stubbornly. Although his body was trembling, he still looked straight into Dustless's deep eyes. Ah 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 ah. Zichen, not bad, Xing Hun. Even though your spiritual pressure is so weak that it is not worth mentioning, you are still able to stand up. That's worthy of praise. Dustless gave him a thumbs up and praised him. Are you humiliating me? Xing Hun was not grateful. Instead, his face was filled with hatred. If Dustless wanted to praise him, he should have praised him properly. Why did he have to say that his spiritual pressure was so weak that it was not worth mentioning? Dustless was obviously looking down on him. What a joke. Who do you think you are? Do I need to humiliate a stray dog like you? What I said is the truth. It is indeed just a trace of spiritual pressure that is not worth mentioning. If you don't believe me, hee. Boom boom boom. Boundless spiritual pressure exploded. The moment it broke out of his body, the ground that Dustless was standing on crumbled under the powerful impact. The exquisite floorboards danced in the air like dust. Is this guy even human? Concubine Yen and Xiaoxi Ming were shocked. Even though the terrifying aura was not directed at them, they still felt a fatal pressure. It was as if their lives would be taken away at any time. Bam! Xing Hun was the main target of the spiritual pressure. He did not even have the chance to react, let alone resist. He was instantly suppressed. His limbs were on the ground, and his face was pressed against the ground. Crack crack crack. The bones in his body were creaking, as if they would shatter at any moment. This bastard, where exactly did he get such strength? Even Dong Wang Tai might not be his match. Xing Hun was in despair. Feeling the pressure that enveloped his heart, he was disheartened. Dustless was definitely not a human. A mere loser wants to defeat me. It's fine if you have a childish face, but how can you be so pedantic and ignorant? What a retarded child. Dustless sighed and muttered softly, Dong Wang Tai actually found a retard to be the left guardian. It seems that the school of Yin Yang is on the verge of extinction. Only in my hands can it flourish again. You're the brainless child. Xing Hun was enraged. Since he had nothing left to lose, he said fearlessly, damned fellow, so you've been hiding your identity and deceiving us. Despicable bastard. Hide his identity. Xiaoxi Ming glanced at Dustless suspiciously, not understanding what Xing Hun was talking about. Kiki, this is really interesting. It seems like young Master Ming still doesn't know your true identity. Ha ha ha, do you need me to help you, Zichen? Xing Huning laughed, his face full of gloating. I'm sorry. I was stalling for time just now, so I... Concubine Yen lowered her head in shame, her eyes filled with regret. In order to stall for time, she had revealed Dustless's true identity. It's all right. Even if you didn't say it, I was planning to tell young Master Ming the truth this time. Dustless smiled at Concubine Yen calmly, indicating that she did not need to take it to heart. He did not care about Xing Hun's threat. He did not intend to hide it from young Master Ming anyway. What should be exposed would be exposed sooner or later. Dustless felt guilty for hiding it from young Master Ming for so long. Young Master Ming, Xing Hun stared deeply at young Master Ming, whose face was covered by a veil, and explained hysterically, the man in front of you, who is your fiancé, Zichen, is the nemesis of the school of Yin Yang, Dustless. Both Moon Goddess and Great Master Ming have become his lackeys. If you really care about the school of Yin Yang, then kill this bastard for me. What? Hearing this, young Master Ming's body trembled, and a strange electric current flashed through her body. She looked at Dustless's indifferent face in disbelief. Hee, hurry up and fight for me. Seeing this, Xing Han did not say anything. He looked at the scene with interest, enjoying the scene of the fratricide that was about to take place. Aren't you going to explain? After a moment of silence, young Master Ming looked at Dustless with her beautiful eyes. There was a hint of sadness in her watery eyes. I don't need to explain. What he said is the truth. I'm sorry, I did lie to you in the past. Dustless could not help but blame himself. At the same time, he twisted his face and revealed his true face. A face that was more handsome than Zichin, calm and mature, but young Master Ming hated the most, appeared. The latter's face was filled with despair. Young Master Ming smiled sadly and asked bitterly, "So you've been lying to me in disguise all this time?" If you want to take revenge on me, I have nothing to say." Dustless was silent. Young Master Ming was not wrong. What was wrong was that he did not have anything to explain. When he had disguised himself as Zichin, Dustless was just playing around. He had never thought that he would marry young Master Ming. It was really full of twists and turns. What happened? Why is it so chaotic? Is there an enemy invasion? At this moment, a voice that faintly contained anger suddenly sounded. It was mysterious and unfathomable. Then, a black figure suddenly appeared like a ghost. This is Dong Huang Tai. Seeing the black-robed figure, concubine Yen and Yu Er both felt despair. However, Xing Han was overjoyed. He secretly thought that there was a way out. He quickly pointed at Dustless and exposed his disguise. "Lord Dong Huang, Zichin is the greatest threat to our Yin Yang school, Dustless." Chapter 1911. This is Dong Huang Tai. Seeing the black-robed man, Imperial concubine Yen and Yu Er felt hopeless. Xing Han, on the other hand, was overjoyed. He knew that there was a way out. He quickly pointed at Dustless and exposed his disguise. "Lord Dong Huang, Zichin is the greatest threat to the school of Yin Yang, Dustless." Dong Huang Tai's masked face shifted to Dustless's body. No wonder, after carefully observing Dustless for a while, Dong Huang Tai let out a long sigh. "At first, I thought that you were very strange. I received vague information from the astrology that the Confucian school was about to be destroyed. However, after you joined the Confucian school, it became a sign of prosperity. On the contrary, the school of Yin Yang declined. I already heard about this last time." Dustless pursed his lips and met Dong Huang Tai's gaze. He asked, "So what do you think? Do you want to start a war with me?" Dong Huang Tai. "How dare you?" The two figures hiding behind Dong Huang Tai glared at him. Seeing that Dustless dared to call Dong Huang Tai by his name, they were furious. It was as if they had been insulted. These two people were the two great elders of the school of Yin Yang, Xiang Jun and Lady Xiang Huang. Just two lackeys. Dustless did not even look at them. He was not interested in them at all. "Dustless, you have two choices now." Dong Huang Tai stared at Dustless for a while and said slowly, "Release Xing Han now, and I can pretend that nothing happened. In the future, you will still be the left guardian of the school of Yin Yang." Lord Dong Huang, Xing Han, Xiang Jun, and Lady Xiang all looked at Dong Huang Tai in disbelief. He knew Dustless's true identity, but he still wanted to bring him home. This was clearly inviting a wolf into the house. "What's the second choice?" Dustless asked directly. "The second choice Dong Huang Tai's tone turned cold. The second choice is very simple. You can die here. I die here. You really have the guts to say that. Dustless looked arrogantly at Dong Huang Tai as if he was looking at a piece of trash. He mocked him without restraint. Sorry, I'm not a tactful person. Moreover, I have a better suggestion. What suggestion? Dong Huang Tai frowned under the mask and asked calmly. He. If you accept my offer, I guarantee that the school of Yin Yang will never be destroyed. Dustless laughed, but his cold laughter gave people goosebumps. How about this, you kill yourself and give me the head of the Yin Yang school. Insolent brat, attack. Dong Huang Tai didn't say anything. He just gave the order coldly. Following his order, Xiang Jun and Madame Xiang pounced on Dustless. Only Xiaoxi Ming didn't move. Young Master Ming, Dong Huang Tai saw the hesitant look on young Master Ming's face, and his tone turned gloomy. You do it too. Your marriage is now annulled. Kill him. Young Master Ming fell into an unprecedented dilemma. She wanted to make a move on Dustless, but the memories of her past rushed into the depths of her mind, awakening the kindness in her heart. She hesitated for a moment. Take this. Xiang Jun and Madame Xiang pounced forward from the front and back, as if they were going to attack from the front and back. There's no stage for the two of you to join in the fun. There are enough people here. Those who should be eliminated should be eliminated. Dustless released a powerful chakra from his body. He raised both his hands, and a wave of air burst out. Shinra Tensei. A perfect 360-degree defense circle was formed. It couldn't be seen by the naked eye, but it was real. Bang! 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 Xiang Jun and Madame Xiang were caught off guard. They didn't even see the defense of the Shinra Tensei and were inevitably sent flying. Crack! Crack! Xiang Jun and Madame Xiang smashed through the sliding door, and blood could be seen at the corner of their mouths. Their faces were pale as they looked at Dustless in fear. This bastard didn't even make a move, and he had easily defeated them. Although it was just a simple move, it was extremely difficult for them to stand up. Young Master Ming, you don't have to be troubled. After dealing with Xiang Jun and Madame Xiang, Dustless looked at Dong Huang Tai with a cunning and sinister smile. What's this guy up to? Seeing Dustless's sinister smile, Dong Huang Tai's heart skipped a beat, and a bad feeling rose in his heart. Young Master Ming, the Dong Huang Tai in your eyes is an imposter. Dustless's words were like a gale and torrential rain, making everyone choke with thunder, their heads spinning. The person in front of them was obviously the real Dong Huang Tai. What did he mean by imposter? Are you crazy? Who would impersonate me? Who would dare? Dong Huang Tai looked at Dustless strangely. What a joke. On the elusive mirage, in the territory of the Yin Yang school, who would dare to impersonate him? He must be tired of living, and he even pretended to be the real one. If I say you are an imposter, then you are an imposter. What's there to argue about? Dustless said casually. At the same time, he looked around with a cold gaze, full of warning. However, Xing Han wasn't afraid of death. He sneered and said, imposter. Ha ha ha, your head. Xing Han's words stopped abruptly. He looked up and saw the scarlet eternal kaleidoscope locked onto him. If he said anything wrong, he would lose his life. Yes, this guy is the imposter Dong Huang Tai. At the crucial moment, Xing Han decisively betrayed Dong Huang Tai and nodded his head furiously. Anyway, Dong Huang Tai had stripped him of his position as a guardian, and Xing Han was filled with hatred. Xing Han, you bastard. Dong Huang Tai almost suffocated to death. He pointed at Xinghan with a trembling finger, wishing he could slap this kid who was full of nonsense to death. Chapter 1912. Xinghan, are you out of your mind? This is the real Lord Donghuang. Xiangjuan and Madame Xiang shouted angrily. It was fine if Dustless was being unreasonable, but why was Xinghan following in his nonsense? Donghuang Tai's unique tone and powerful aura could not be faked. This fellow is really good at making false claims. Xiangjuan and Madame Xiang looked at each other, their hearts in a haze. From Dustless's display of power, the Yin-Yang school might really have a change of master today. Xinghan, I will give you one more chance. Take back what you said just now. Donghuang Tai was obviously angry. It was fine if Dustless was spouting nonsense, but even Xinghan, whom he had trusted, was singing a different tune. This was a slap in the face. Dream on. Xinghan snorted indifferently and said with hatred, Dustless is not a good person. I know that. You too. Huff huff huff, Xinghan's breathing suddenly sped up. He recalled his tragic past and shouted angrily, I have served the Yin-Yang school for so many years. Because of a groundless accusation, my guardian position was removed. Donghuang Tai, go ahead and play. I will not accompany you. If it was in the past, Xinghan would know what to do without Donghuang Tai's orders. But, after the previous incident, Xinghan saw Donghuang Tai's true colors. In order to win over Dustless, this fellow found a random reason to remove his guardian position and gave it to Dustless. Since then, Xinghan had lost all hope in the Yin-Yang school. He worked tirelessly, but in the end, his reputation was ruined. He was bitterly disappointed. Is that so? So you hate me so much? Since that is the case, then, Donghuang Tai lowered his voice and dashed in front of Xinghan. The air blade in his hand was already grabbing towards Xinghan's neck. You want to kill someone in front of me? Seeing this, Dustless laughed coldly and grabbed towards Xinghan. Get over here, Wanxiang Heavenly Attraction. Just as the air blade was about to cut Xinghan's head, an irresistible gravitational force suddenly descended. Donghuang Tai's hand was forced to retract. One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune in the future. Xinghan heaved a sigh of relief and revealed a relaxed smile. Xinghan was not celebrating his life. To be honest, he did not fear death. He just wanted to see Dustless and Donghuang Tai kill each other's fight. It would be best if they could all of them together on their lives' way. What move is this move? Under the influence of the gravitational force, Donghuang Tai realized that he was unable to control his own body. Donghuang Tai was slightly shocked. In the past, he had heard that Wu Qin was very strange. Now that he had seen it for himself, he finally understood why Xinghan had lost to him time and time again. Of the moment the Eastern Emperor Tai was in his hand, Wu Qin activated the ability of the glint fruit. A large amount of light condensed in his hand. Heavenly Sword of Clouds. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. At the moment when the golden sword was formed, Wu Qin waved his blade decisively. The deadly blade went straight to Donghuang Tai's head. He wanted to decapitate this guy who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth and liked to be mysterious. Lord Donghuang. Sorrowful cries came from Xiangjun and Madame Xiang. They almost burst into tears as they watched Donghuang Tai being killed by Dustless. Pfft. The radiance of the heavenly swords sliced Donghuang Tai's body easily. However, it did not decapitate him as expected. The moment it sliced his body, it turned into a large amount of golden radiance. Witnessing this scene, Dustless recalled the elemental transformation of the heavenly sword's fruit. It was almost exactly the same. No, this is a soul dragon swim. Squinting his eyes, Dustless immediately said the name of the move that Donghuang Tai used. He was secretly shocked. I did not expect Soul Dragon Swim to be used in such a way. No wonder Dong Huang Tai is the leader of the Yin Yang school. Even Yueshin and Xing Han could not do it to this extent. Yueshin and Xing Han could use Soul Dragon Swim, but this Dong Huang Tai in front of him was abnormal. In that instant, he turned his body into Soul Dragon Swim. It was similar to the elemental transformation of the Logia Devil Fruit, but there was a difference in essence. Anyway, the principle was similar, and he used it to avoid the fatal attack. The great Tao of Yin and Yang, Wuji Tai. Do you think I became the leader of the Yin Yang school just because I said so? The floating golden radiance gathered again, revealing Dong Huang Tai who was unharmed. Pfft. Wu Qin spat out a mouthful of saliva in an ungentlemanly manner. He was deliberately being naughty. The speed of his spit was unbelievably fast. This scene came too suddenly, causing Dong Huang Tai to be attacked head-on. His entire body was covered with saliva. Bullsh * T Dong Huang Tai, do you really think you can control the world and do whatever you want? Look at your stupid face, I think you should be called Saliva Tai. Dustless laughed loudly without restraint, but the others were on tenterhooks. Dustless's actions had completely angered this Yin Yang school's super big shot. Be * starred, since you want to be torn into pieces so badly, I will fulfill your wish. Dong Huang Tai was enraged. Purple air blades shot out from his hands. The density was 10 times higher than Xing Han's. Since Dong Huang Tai was the Yin Yang school's boss, he naturally knew how to use most of the skills. For example, Soul Dragon Swim and Condensing Air Blades. Dong Huang Tai knew how to use them, and he was more familiar with them than Yueshin and Xing Han. You think too highly of yourself. Dustless's eyes focused on the terrifying purple air blades. He suddenly shouted, Heavenly Reflection. Boom! 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 Boundless black flames ignited in the air, instantly evaporating and devouring the air blades. At the same time, the flames spread towards Dong Huang Tai's body at a terrifying speed. Chapter 1913. Black Flame. Dong Huang Tai was also shocked. This was the first time he had seen such a flame. What a terrifying temperature. Dong Huang Tai was in awe. Now that he was so close to the heavenly reflection, he felt a lot of emotions. Without hesitation, he retracted his chi blade to avoid being caught in the crossfire. Swoosh! 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 His body shook as Dong Huang Tai retreated decisively, distancing himself from the ferocious flame. Master Dong Huang is retreating. Young Master Ming and the rest were shocked. In their minds, Dong Huang Tai was invincible and omnipotent. He had always been in control of everything. Now that he was forced to retreat by Dustless, their impression of him was greatly reduced. Skull Blood Palm. Dong Huang Tai skillfully made a few hand seals with both hands. A blood-red skull was formed in an instant and flew towards Dustless at an extremely fast speed. Pfft. Because it was too fast, Dustless was caught off guard and was severely injured. He spat out a mouthful of blood. You bastard! Dustless looked at Dong Huang Tai in despair. His face was pale. Finally, he closed his eyes unwillingly and fell to the ground. He died without even breathing. You want to fight me? Too weak. Dong Huang Tai sneered. He did not even look at Dustless. Just as he was about to turn and leave, a mournful scream was heard. Xiang Juan. Lady Xiang, who was quite pretty, screamed in despair. Her voice was filled with endless screams. What happened? Dong Huang Tai stopped when he heard the mournful scream. He turned around and saw the lifeless Lady Xiang lying on the ground where Dustless died. Hee hee, at the same time, an ear-piercing laughter was suddenly heard. Dong Wang Tai's expression changed drastically as he looked towards the source of the laughter. It was Wu Chen who was smirking. This guy is not dead. Dong Wang Tai was dumbfounded and his eyeballs almost fell out. He saw Wu Chen spit out blood and died after being hit by the bloody skeleton handprint. However, when he looked at the place where Wu Chen died, the dead person turned out to be Xiang Jun. Master Dong Wang. Suppressing the hatred in her heart, Lady Xiang asked in a low voice, "Why did you kill my husband? Did he do anything wrong?" Dong Wang Tai was furious and scolded loudly, "I killed Dustless. Why would I kill Lady Xiang who is loyal to the sect of Yin Yang? Don't talk nonsense. You are the one is talking nonsense." Madame Xiang was so angry that she laughed and said without showing any weakness, "Dong Wang Tai, do you think everyone is an idiot? Everyone saw you kill my husband. If you don't believe me, you can ask them." "How? How is that possible?" Dong Wang Tai shook his head in denial. He saw him kill Dustless. How could Lady Xiang be dead? Confused, he looked at young Master Ming and asked, "Did I kill Lady Xiang?" Young Master Ming nodded without saying a word. Damn it! Dong Wang Tai cursed in his heart. He pointed at Wu Chen furiously and roared, "Wu Chen, you must have used an illusion on me to give me an illusion. Yeah. They say that dogs will bite people when they are driven mad. Today, I see that it is true. Dong Wang Tai, everyone saw you kill Xiang Jun with their own eyes, and now you want to slander me and throw dirty water on my head? This method of framing is too vulgar. The eyes of the people are clear." Dustless looked at Dong Wang Tai sarcastically. However, he was very happy. Even though Dong Wang Tai was wearing a mask, Dustless could imagine his old face turning green. In fact, Dustless used his eye power to control Dong Wang Tai, causing him to hallucinate. Then, Lady Xiang became Dustless. "Give me an explanation. Why did you kill my husband?" Lady Xiang looked at Dong Wang Tai coldly and secretly gathered her inner energy. Explanation. Pay attention to your identity. I am Dong Wang Tai, the leader of the school of Yin Yang. Dong Wang Tai groaned. Madame Xiang actually dared to question him. She was clearly offending her superior. Dong Wang Tai didn't give her any face and said, "No matter what, she is already dead. Even if she was accidentally killed by me, she died a worthy death." Lady Xiang was not the only one who felt miserable. Even young Master Si Ming was touched. Dong Wang Tai's coldness and arrogance made everyone uncomfortable. I have said it before. This guy is not Dong Wang Tai. He is an imposter. The real Dong Wang Tai has been killed by this bastard. Everyone, let's surround him and take revenge. Dustless continued to instigate with evil intentions. Bastard, let's see who dares to do it. Dong Wang Tai was extremely angry. He released his powerful aura and no one dared to act rashly. Gentlemen, at this moment, Yueshan and Great Si Ming suddenly arrived. When they saw the messy situation and Dong Wang Tai who was obviously at a disadvantage, a strange look flashed across their eyes. Yueshan and Great Si Ming, you came at the right time. Dong Wang Tai was overjoyed. He quickly said in a commanding tone, "Tell these traitors that I am the real Dong Wang Tai, the leader of the school of Yin Yang. There is only one Dong Wang Tai in this world." Everyone turned to look at Yueshan and Great Si Ming. Yueshan and Great Si Ming looked at each other. Yueshan suddenly took a step forward and pointed at Dong Wang Tai. Everyone, he is, ha ha ha, Dong Wang Tai laughed proudly. Yueshan's arrival could naturally prove his identity. Dustless's scheme would be exposed, but who would have thought that Yueshan's words would send him to the 18th level of hell? The real Dong Wang Tai is dead. This guy is an imposter. Dong Huang Tai left a message saying that he will pass the position of the leader of the school of Yin Yang to Dustless. The other members of the school of Yin Yang were shocked. They did not expect Dong Huang Tai to be killed, but the masked Dong Huang Tai was so angry that he vomited blood. Imposter my ass. Even if he was the real Dong Huang Tai, he did not say that he would pass the position to Dustless. Chapter 1914. Yueshan, you bastard. Dong Huang Tai was enraged. It was fine if the others betrayed him, but the Yueshan was even more important to Dong Huang Tai than Xing Han and Dustless. Yet, she betrayed him for no reason. Hee, Dustless saw Dong Huang Tai's constipated face. Cough, cough, cough. Now we can confirm that this guy is an imposter, and Dustless patted his chest and said in high spirits, and I will inherit the school of Yin Yang. Let's get rid of the culprit who killed Lord Dong Huang together. Great Si Ming, do you think so too? Dong Huang Tai had no choice but to look at Dong Huang Tai for help. He never expected that he would be betrayed by everyone. However, what happened next proved Dong Huang Tai's guess. He was just asking for humiliation. I can testify that this guy is an imposter. Great Si Ming answered without hesitation. He was even more decisive than the Yueshan. After all, she had already slept with Dustless and had become Dustless's woman. Stop spouting nonsense. Don't try to mislead the crowd. You bunch of traitors from the school of Yin Yang. Dong Huang Tai reprimanded loudly. Just as he was about to explain, Madame Xiang pounced on him and attacked him mercilessly. How dare you! Seeing this, Dong Huang Tai flew into a rage. He was completely infuriated. A terrifying aura exploded from his body. Since you bunch of traitors treat me like this, I will kill all of you and rebuild the school of Yin Yang. Even though no one could see Dong Huang Tai's face clearly, they could tell from his voice that he was really infuriated. Among the 5 elders and 2 guardians, other than Yun Zhongjuan who was nowhere to be found, the rest had all betrayed Dong Huang Tai. How could he not be angry? Kill us. Then you shall die first. Madame Xiang pounced on him. To her, it didn't matter if Dong Huang Tai was an imposter or not. This guy had killed her husband. He must die. And, you want to shake the heavens and the earth. What a joke. Seeing Lady Xiang pouncing towards him, Dong Huang Tai sneered. He stared at the arm that was slapping towards him. His internal energy surged as he struck out with his palm. Both of their palms collided. Poochie. After all, this was the big boss of the Yin Yang school. Dong Huang Tai's strength was absolute. He easily dealt a heavy blow to Madame Xiang and sent her flying with a palm strike. Madame Xiang coughed out blood. Seeing this, the Yin Yang school's people were terrified. This was Dong Huang Tai's true strength. Even when facing an elder, he could easily suppress or even kill them. Get out of the way, let me do it. Dustless looked at Dong Huang Tai coldly and sneered. It's true that others are ants, but in my eyes, you are also an ant. Dong Huang Tai snorted and said, Don't be so arrogant. I'll teach you a lesson. Swish. Swish. Just as he finished speaking, Dong Huang Tai pounced over with golden light all over his body. His body was surrounded by a large amount of sacred golden light, which gradually turned into a strange image. This is a dragon. Yueshan and the rest squinted their eyes, especially Yueshan and Xing Han. They were shocked by Dong Huang Tai's proficiency in controlling the soul dragon. The 2 of them were far from being able to do this. There's a good show to watch now. You 2 perverts better perish together. Xing Han chuckled with a gloating smile on his face. You overestimate yourselves. Seeing Dong Huang Tai pouncing towards him and the huge dragon head that was formed by the soul dragon, Xing Han sneered. Caw caw caw. Dustless straightened his thumb and a dazzling light burst out from the tip of his finger. Die, Dong Huang Tai, you annoying bug. Dao Breaker 88, Flying Dragon Strikes Thief, Sky-Shaking Thunder Cannon. A thick flash of light burst out and shot towards the sky. It instantly destroyed Dong Huang Tai's body. Even the entire elusive mirage shook violently and a huge hole was created. Bang bang bang. After receiving a fatal attack, Dong Huang Tai and the soul dragon around him were instantly crushed. They turned into light and dissipated in the air. However, what was troubling was that Dong Huang Tai's collapsed body reformed again after a short while. This guy. I didn't expect him to be so difficult to deal with, Dustless muttered. This was the first time he had encountered such a mysterious and special ability. So what if you're powerful? What can you do to me? Seeing Dustless's surprised face, Dong Huang Tai laughed proudly and said, Tao is natural and mysterious. The great Tao is formless. Wuji Tai. Mysterious and mysterious. Dustless sneered and said contemptuously, it's just an unorthodox Tao. How dare you say it's mysterious? You're really too naive. After all, you're just a frog at the bottom of a well. As soon as his voice fell, Dustless's face turned cold. You've worked so hard for Enyang School for so many years. It's not very kind to kill you. I'll give you a ticket to travel. Dustless smiled sinisterly. His eyes rotated rapidly and turned into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. These eyes, Dong Huang Tai immediately had a bad feeling. When he killed Xiangjuan inexplicably just now, he happened to see these evil eyes by chance. As a result, Xiangjuan was killed by him without any warning. Kamui! Dustless suddenly shouted. The space around Dong Huang Tai suddenly distorted and quickly swallowed his body. This is bad. Noticing the abnormality of his body, Dong Huang Tai panicked. Chapter 1915. At first, Dong Huang Tai thought that Wu Qin was helpless against him and was just bluffing. However, as the mysterious space started to distort violently, Dong Huang Tai realized that he was wrong. What's going on? Dong Huang Tai turned his head and looked at the distorted space in horror. His heart was in his throat and could jump out at any time. Caw caw caw. The space was torn apart by some mysterious energy, and it was constantly swallowing his body, and it was about to swallow him whole. I have to think of a way. Dong Huang Tai's heart was cold, and he didn't have the strength to deal with such a strange ability. He found that if he used Soul Dragon, the light born in his body would be absorbed, and it would only accelerate his death. Do you understand how small you are now? Hearing Dong Huang Tai's panicked tone, Dustless said calmly, Goodbye. Dream on, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Dong Huang Tai roared, and all his true chi burst out from his body to resist the void behind him to prevent himself from being swallowed. Final struggle. Seeing this, Dustless looked disdainful, and his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan blinked gently, and his eye power burst out again. However, due to the limitations of the situation, Dustless didn't dare to use all his eye power, otherwise, Yueshin and others would also be swallowed. The Kamui that Dustless got from Obito was extremely powerful, and Dustless' eye power was too terrifying, and it didn't distinguish between friend and foe, and there was no limit to the eruption of eye power, and a little carelessness could swallow everyone. Even the entire mirage would be sucked into the dimensional space. This was not a casual statement. As the ten-tailed beast, its dustless eye power could be said to be endless and boundless. If not for the fact that Dong Huang Tai had some scruples at the moment and that the situation was unfavorable to him, he would not have been able to maintain it for even a moment. Caw caw caw. The distorted space behind Dong Huang Tai continued to expand, and a small hole gradually appeared, like a black hole, emitting a huge gravitational force, swallowing everything. So strong. Moon God and the others were all shocked. Their bodies could not help but move toward the twisted space. They tried their best to resist. Although Dustless was not targeting them, they still felt a deadly pressure. Moon God, Great Sea Ming, and Imperial Concubine Yen were sure that if Dustless increased his power, they would be devoured as well. Oh no! At this moment, Dong Wangtai suddenly realized that his right arm had been swallowed. He immediately felt a chill run down his spine as he struggled with all his might. You're just an ant trying to shake the heavens. You overestimate yourself. Seeing this, Dustless sneered and blinked again. Poochie. The power of the divine might was too strong, and the black hole was like the giant mouth of an invisible monster. It tore apart Dong Wangtai's right arm. Ah, my right hand! Dong Wangtai cried out in pain. His right arm was bleeding profusely, and the wound was badly mutilated. Taking a closer look, he saw that his entire right arm had been swallowed by the Shen Wei. It was a miserable sight. Damn Dustless. Even if I die, I will drag all of you down with me. Dong Wangtai, who had been driven mad, looked at everyone coldly and finally fixed his gaze on young Si Ming. Kiki, you two are so close. Since that is the case, young Si Ming will die with me. Dong Wangtai seemed to have gone mad. His cold voice made young Si Ming despair. Of course, she was not afraid of death. What made young Si Ming sad was that she had worked hard for the school of Enyang for so many years. She had always thought of the school of Enyang and was extremely loyal to Dong Wangtai. Even when others said that Dong Wangtai was a fake, young Si Ming turned a deaf ear to it. In her heart, Dong Wangtai was the leader of the school of Enyang. What made young Si Ming break down was that if others wanted to kill her, she would feel better. But at this moment, Dong Wangtai, whom she trusted the most, was so cold and heartless. She finally understood how sad Xing Han was when he was betrayed by Dong Wangtai. Come here. Dong Wangtai made a grabbing motion with his left arm. Young Si Ming immediately flew over and was tightly bound by Dong Wangtai. Ouch! Her beautiful face turned pale. Young Si Ming gritted her teeth. Her right arm was grabbed by Dong Wangtai and she could not resist. Even though he only had his left arm left, Dong Wangtai's strength was still beyond imagination. Ha ha ha, die with me. Dong Wangtai did not resist anymore. His body floated into the god might space. He was about to be completely devoured and die with young Si Ming. Just as he was about to step onto the path of death, the irresistible devouring force suddenly stopped, and the distorted space also returned to its original calm state. Let go of young Si Ming and get the hell out of here. After staring at young Si Ming for a while, Dustless finally looked at Dong Wangtai and said coldly, "Before I change my mind, you better disappear." Ha ha ha, Dong Wangtai immediately laughed arrogantly and said, "You actually gave up a good chance to kill me for a woman. This stupid decision will make you regret it for the rest of your life." Regret it for the rest of my life. Glancing at Dong Wangtai casually, Dustless said calmly, "Do you think you can make a comeback? I have already crippled one of your arms and you have even lost your position as the head of the Enyang family. You are just a stray dog now. It's a small world. We still have a long way to go. Just wait and see." Dong Wangtai snorted angrily and left angrily. Aren't you being too reckless? Great Si Ming and Moon God came over and said unhappily, letting the tiger go back to the mountain will be a big problem in the future. Is it really worth it for young Si Ming? Yes, it is a tiger. But it is a dying tiger. Dustless replied casually. A tiger's most powerful weapon, its fangs, were all crushed and one of its legs was broken. It could not even eat. What threat could it pose? Moreover, Dustless did feel guilty towards young Si Ming. Chapter 1916. Yes, it's a tiger. It's just a sick tiger. Dustless replied nonchalantly. If a tiger's most powerful weapon, its fangs, were all crushed and one of its legs was broken, it couldn't even eat. What threat could it pose? Moreover, Dustless did feel guilty towards young Master Ming. Before he left, Dong Huangtai didn't forget to look back at the elusive mirage. As the head of the school of Yin Yang, he was actually chased out by a group of underlings. Humans are not what they used to be. The world is so cold. With a sigh, Dong Huangtai finally disappeared in loneliness. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Kid, do you think you're very lucky? In one of the cells, Dustless smiled at the dispirited Xing Hun and teased, former guardian, why do you look so gloomy? Aren't you very lucky to be alive? Dustless, what are you trying to do? Xing Han looked at Dustless with an unfriendly expression and said fearlessly, kill me if you have the guts. I promise I won't even stab my eyes. Kill you? That's a pity. You still have some value. Dustless glanced at Xing Hun and said with a smile, a few days ago, the Mo family seized the Black Dragon dossier. The content was about the 18th of next month, the first Emperor's Eastern tour. Nonsense. Xing Han immediately retorted. Why haven't I heard of Ing Zheng's Eastern tour? Don't try to lie to me. I can't deny that this is a scam. Dustless didn't deny it. He nodded and said, the person who is going to replace Ing Zheng is you, Xing Han. How can I let you die now? If you want to die, you'll die later. You bastard, you're still trying to use me. Xing Han was furious and immediately stood up. He didn't know where he got the strength to shout, you won't even let a lowly prisoner go. How despicable are you? Despicable? We're the same. You have no right to criticize me. Dustless glanced at Xing Han and left lazily. The special room that Dong Huangtai usually stayed in. The structure of the room was different from the others. The ceiling was made up of countless special materials that resembled stars, emitting a mysterious blue light. The floor beneath his feet was the same, as if the sky was filled with twinkling stars. He had the illusion that he was in the universe. However, the place where Dong Huangtai usually sat was now occupied by Dustless. At this moment, he was taking a nap with his eyes closed, looking quite leisurely. Seriously, in the end, I still became the head of the Yin Yang school. Sighing, Wu Chen opened his eyes and saw the moon god, Great Si Ming, and concubine Yan. Of course, there was also Yun Zhongjuan, Madame Xiang, and the young Yu, who was blinking her eyes. After Dong Huangtai left the Yin Yang school, it was impossible for this huge sect to disappear just like that. Hence, Dustless became the sect master. Dustless did not refuse. The Yin Yang school was responsible for helping the Qin kingdom to get rid of the rebels and plundering the 7 constellations of the Azure Dragon. This was also in line with Dustless's interests. Hence, there was no harm in becoming the sect master. Dustless becoming the new head of the Yin Yang school was what everyone wanted. The group of Yin Yang school members who were standing now all agreed. After all, this world respected the strong. Dong Huangtai was not as good as Dustless, so he could only give up his position. Where's young Master Ming? Dustless frowned when he did not find any trace of young Master Ming. I've informed her, but young Master Ming did not come. Moon God showed a helpless expression. Forget it, Dustless waved his hand and did not bother to care. He stared at concubine Yan and said, concubine Yan is no longer a sinner of the Yin Yang school. She will return to her previous position. As for the next goal, she will be responsible for finding the 7 constellations of the Azure Dragon and assisting the Qin kingdom. And, Dustless's gaze fell on Yun Zhongjuan's head. He ordered, you must develop the elixir of immortality as soon as possible. Don't let me down. Sure, sure. Hearing this, Yun Zhongjue nodded quickly. Thinking of Dustless's terrifying strength, he felt a chill. Even his former boss had been turned into a stray dog by this guy, let alone him. He'd better be obedient. The next main task, Dustless narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a sinister smile, the next step is to annex the Confucian school. Also, the news that I have become the head of the Yin-Yang school must not be told to anyone. Those who disobey will be killed without mercy. Annex the Confucian school. This will take a long time. The moon goddess frowned. She looked at Wu Chen's flickering eyes, which were full of cold killing intent. Moon god, this is very simple. If Fu Nian and the second head, Yen Lu, are both dead, I, the third head of the Confucian school, will naturally replace them. Wouldn't this huge problem be completely solved? Fu Nian's original intention was to use Dustless and young Master Ming Liani to take advantage of the power of the School of Nutrition to become the head of the 100 schools of thought. The Confucian school even wanted to occupy the world. Their ambition was not small, but it was too far away. There is also the matter of eliminating the Mo family and Wei Zhuang and Lu Sha. Dustless smiled maliciously and said, those guys still don't know that I have become the head of the Yin-Yang school. I can take advantage of the Black Dragon dossier incident to eliminate them in one fell swoop. As for Duanmu Rong and Snow Lady, Dustless muttered to himself, the Yin-Yang school under my rule is more suitable for them. As for the others, they should just disappear and purify the air. Chapter 1917. As for the life and death of the other members of the Mo family, this was not something Dustless could interfere with. Anyway, everyone had different standpoints, and it was inevitable that they would meet on the battlefield. There was no right or wrong between them. It was just that their philosophies and values were different. You mean to kill Fu Nian and the second head of the Confucian school, Yen Lu? This is indeed the fastest and most effective way. All the confusion will disappear. Moon Goddess agreed. When people died, everything would disappear, and Dustless would naturally become the master of the Confucian school. Who is suitable to kill Fu Nian? Moon Goddess asked with a frown. The Yin-Yang school did not seem suitable. The Confucian school and the Yin-Yang school were about to form a marriage alliance. If they were to kill Fu Nian and Yen Lu now, wouldn't they be criticized? This is very simple. Dustless suddenly laughed sinisterly. This kind of thing can be left to me, the spy. It is easy to dodge an open spear, but hard to guard against a hidden arrow. I am the most suitable person to quietly eliminate the two of them. Even though Dustless was the third head of the Confucian school, he had no power and was just a puppet. In Dustless's opinion, why did Fu Nian choose him as the third head of the Confucian school to form a marriage alliance with young Master Ming? To put it bluntly, he was just using him to make the Confucian school prosper. That brat dared to use me. He must pay the price. Dustless sneered. He was not a gentleman if he did not take revenge. It was good enough that Fu Nian was able to live for so long. As for Yen Lu, although the two of them did not have a deep grudge, their standpoints were different after all. Moreover, this fellow often supported Zhang Liang, and Wu Chen and Zhang Liang had fought openly and secretly many times. Yen Lu could be considered to have died on the right path. Okay, the battle plan ends here. What other doubts do you have? Say it all. Dustless's gaze swept past the elders of the Yin-Yang school. He lay on the seat that Dong Huang Tai used to sit in comfortably. Everyone looked at each other. In the end, concubine Yen took the lead and said, Xing Hun killed my husband, Yen Dan. Now that we have captured him, why don't we kill him? This. Dustless took a sip of tea, raised a finger, and promised, Xing Hun will die within a month. That's more like it. Concubine Yen breathed a sigh of relief when she heard this. A rare bright smile appeared on her face. As for you, who was standing beside concubine Yen, she didn't care. She didn't even react. You had always hated Yen Dan. After all, it was Yen Dan who had abandoned her and her mother. Especially after she found out that Yen Dan was her father, you was filled with disgust towards Yen Dan, and her feelings towards the Mo family gradually faded. I have a question. This time, the one who spoke was Great Si Ming. He said bluntly, why should we listen to Qin State's arrangement? It is completely unnecessary. We can even overthrow them and establish our own regime. The people from the school of Yin Yang were silent. In fact, this was what they wanted to ask. There was no need for them to cooperate with the Qin kingdom and even help them eliminate the remaining evil. With the strength of the school of Yin Yang, it would not be a problem to kick Qin Shi Huang off the throne. Most importantly, I'm not interested in becoming an emperor. I'm more like destroying the world. As for ruling a country, forget about it. Dustless shrugged and gave an answer that made everyone not know whether to laugh or cry. He did not have the ability to be an emperor. Huff, 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 inside young Master Ming's room, it was warm and filled with a very elegant fragrance. It was very similar to young Master Ming's body scent. The clean and light fragrance made people unable to stop themselves from taking a few more sniffs. Are you here to execute me? Young Master Ming turned around and looked at the person who came. Her eyes were filled with coldness. I just changed my appearance. I am still the same person. Dustless heard young Master Ming's cold tone and felt a slight headache. He explained patiently, we are still on the same side. There is no need to treat me like an outsider. On the same side. Young Master Ming glanced at Dustless indifferently and said softly, if you really treat me as one of your own, why did you use the disguise technique? Dustless was speechless. He could only quibble, if I meet you with my real appearance, are you sure you won't attack me and kill me? Young Master Ming raised her eyebrows slightly. Her cold tone softened a bit. She snorted, you are still as eloquent and cunning as before. There is a chance. Dustless chuckled in his mind. He tried to persuade her, back then, I was still a wanted criminal, and you were one of the 5 elders of School of Yin Yang. Of course, we would fight to the death. I had no choice but to meet you with Zichen's identity. Now that you have won and become the headmaster of School of Yin Yang, what are you going to do with me? Looking at Dustless calmly, young Master Ming said, back then, you didn't have to care about me. As long as Dong Huang Tai and I were dead, School of Yin Yang would be under your control. Does it matter? Even if you and Dong Huang Tai were still alive, School of Yin Yang would still be under my control. As for letting Dong Huang Tai save you. Looking at young Master Ming's cold face with a complicated expression, Dustless said frankly, it was just an instinctive reaction. Instinctive reaction. Young Master Ming sighed and said, I am a bit surprised by your words. I don't think I am that important in your heart. In terms of strength, I am not as powerful as Moon God. In terms of loyalty, I am not as loyal as Great Si Ming. You can't say it like that. Dustless shook his head. He paused for a while and said, everyone is different. It is because you are different from them that you are unique. If everyone is the same, what is the difference between you and a zombie? You really know how to enlighten people. Young Master Ming looked at Dustless in surprise. She didn't expect him to be so good at talking. The resistance she had for Dustless lying to her had disappeared a lot. Of course. Seeing young Master Ming's relaxed face, Dustless was secretly proud. After all, he had lived for hundreds of years. His talking skills were naturally at the level of the creator. Chapter 1918. You liar. Don't try to lie to me anymore. Don't think that I don't know. At this moment, Xiao Ximing suddenly said something out of the blue, which stunned Dustless. What did I lie to you about? Dustless asked hesitantly. It was just an identity. Was there anything else that he didn't tell Xiao Ximing? Humph, Xiao Ximing snorted and frowned her delicate nose. Then, she said, Moon God and Great Sea Ming were on your side that day. To be honest, I was shocked. They have been your people for a long time, right? Oh, so that's why. Hearing this, Dustless was enlightened. He smiled and said, it's better to be safe than sorry. It's never a bad idea to rope in a few more friends, especially people like you. People like me. Xiao Ximing was slightly surprised. She looked at Dustless in confusion and asked, could it be that I have an advantage over Moon God and Great Sea Ming? That's not it. Every one of you has your own characteristics. Dustless shook his head and said softly, all in all, what's your choice? You saw what happened that day. Although you're very loyal to Dong Huangtai, that guy is evil. You're just cannon fodder and chess pieces to him. You're right. Hearing Ji Hao's words, Xiao Ximing gave a bitter smile and said sadly, only after what happened last time did I realize that all members of the school of Yin Yang were nothing but goods in his eyes, including us, elders and protectors. We were disposable. That's right. The Yin Yang school under my rule is finally back on track. Dustless nodded in agreement. You. Hearing this, Xiao Ximing rolled her eyes at Dustless and complained, so after all this time, you just want to use Dong Huangtai to set off your nobility. That's the truth. Dustless stared at Xiao Ximing's pretty face and asked, if you want to stay, my door will always be open for you. As for leaving, I won't stop you. However, changing the topic, Dustless continued, I think it's better for you to stay in the school of Yin Yang. If you travel alone, you'll attract unnecessary trouble. Quicksand, Mahisht, and other sects all view the school of Yin Yang as a thorn in their side. They want nothing more than to get rid of them as soon as possible. Moreover, someone as beautiful as you will definitely be targeted by lechers if you leave the Yin Yang family. Therefore, it's better for you to continue staying in the Yin Yang family. You obviously said that on purpose. Young Master Ming was instantly speechless. Dustless had already said so, could she still leave? Immediately, he let out a long sigh and said, since everyone agrees that you are the new leader, I have nothing to be dissatisfied with. Xiao Ximing had no choice but to admit defeat. Your choice is definitely the wisest one. Hearing this, Dustless was overjoyed. He couldn't help but stroke young Arbiter Ming's purple hair. Don't touch me. Sensing Dustless approaching and rubbing his body against hers, young Master Ming's lips twitched. At this moment, a strange feeling swept across her heart. The words that she was going to scold Dustless suddenly became soft and coquettish. Young Master Ming's face immediately turned red. She was quite embarrassed. Why are you being so formal? We are engaged to begin with. Have you forgotten that Dong Huangtai has already betrothed you to me? Plus, we have slept on the same bed. Dustless chuckled and approached young Master Ming again. In the end, he took an inch and wanted a mile. Finally, he hugged her slim waist. Nonsense. Have you forgotten that Dong Huangtai has already been expelled by you? Of course, his words don't count. Young Master Ming didn't appreciate it. She looked annoyed, but when she heard Dustless continue to accept this marriage, she couldn't help but show a little dimple on her face. It was very cute. However, this scene only lasted for a moment. Dustless didn't notice it. How is this nonsense? You are my fiancé. That is a fact. Dustless said seriously, plus, I am thinking for your sake. Thinking for my sake. Young Master Ming turned her head and looked at Dustless in confusion. She asked, this is obviously you bullying me. How did it become thinking for my sake? No, no, no. Dustless showed an unprecedented shameless expression and said seriously, if our marriage is really over, I am a thick-skinned man. Of course, it doesn't matter if no one is pointing fingers at me. But what about you? Others will definitely say that I am the one who divorced you. How can I bear to see a young lady being pointed at behind her back? So, I can only sacrifice myself and give up my own happiness. For your sake, I will continue to accept this marriage. Pfft. Young Master Ming was stunned by Dustless's words. This guy's level of shamelessness was rarely seen in this world. His shameless words made people speechless. She couldn't find any loopholes. He must have gotten used to it after a long time. You scoundrel. Young Master Ming glared at Dustless with dissatisfaction and turned her head away. She didn't want to look at Dustless anymore. You call me a scoundrel? Dustless pretended to be angry. He took a deep breath of young Master Ming's elegant body fragrance. Finally, he got close to her ear and blew a breath of hot air. Young Master Ming's pale earlobes suddenly itched, and she started to panic. Now, I will show you how scoundrel I am. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Chen attacked young Master Ming's thin lips. In the blink of an eye, he sealed young Master Ming's mouth. Young Master Ming was stunned. She didn't expect Dustless to be so daring. She started to struggle violently. However, to Dustless, young Master Ming's strength was not worth mentioning. On the contrary, sometimes, resistance and struggle could arouse a man's desire to conquer. It would make him more interested than usual. It would make him drool. Chapter 1919. When he woke up again, it was already the morning of the next day. Damn it, what's going on? Dustless's head was so swollen that it felt like it was going to split open. Yesterday, he had accidentally crossed the line and finally tore off the last layer of clothing with young Master Ming. What a sin! Looking at the obvious bloodstains on the bedding, Dustless felt awkward. In his mind, he suddenly recalled the crazy scene last night and couldn't help but smile bitterly. No matter what kind of creature it is, they are all controlled by their subconscious desires. Wu Chen sighed. When he saw young Master Si Ming's half-naked body, he picked up the blanket and covered her body. Looking at young Master Ming's body, Dustless's heart was itching again. The rosy white body aroused Dustless's ambition. Just as he was about to crawl under the bedding and go back to sleep, young Master Ming's voice sounded first. Don't move, it hurts, young Master Ming moaned softly, her pale face frowning subconsciously. Let's go back to the Little Sage Manor and deal with Fu Nian first. Looking at the torn clothes on the floor, Dustless roughly glanced at them. They were all young Master Ming's clothes. She was also exhausted yesterday. There was still a long time in the future, so there was no need to rush. Crack, crack, crack. First, he stood up and stretched lazily, his bones cracking. Then, Dustless walked around twice, and then put on the Confucian disciple's special jacket unhurriedly. In his mind, he was thinking about how to deal with Yen Lu and Fu Nian. Although these two weren't as cunning as Zhang Liang, they were very smart. It wouldn't be good if they saw through him. Creak. Unexpectedly, just as he opened the door, a few slim and graceful figures were standing in the quiet corridor. Why are you guys like ghosts? You don't make any sound when you walk. Dustless said unhappily. He looked up and saw Yueshin, Great Master Ming, Concubine Yen, and Yuer appearing in the corridor without even greeting him. Big Brother Dustless was too engrossed, so he didn't notice us. It's been almost 4 hours. Yuer's small nose snorted and muttered. Cough, cough, cough. Hearing this, Dustless coughed awkwardly. He pretended to be serious and ordered, in the future, without my permission, no one can deliberately approach my residence. Although the school of yin-yang emphasizes the fusion of yin and yang into all things, there are still some aspects that need to be restrained. Otherwise, if this goes on for a long time, the body will be worn down sooner or later. The moon god glanced at Dustless and spoke plainly. This is my private matter. It's not up to you to interfere. Also, my body is very healthy. You want to wear me down? Dream on. Dustless stared at moon god angrily. What moon god said made him lose face. She was obviously questioning his ability in some way. What is it? The sun has just risen. Dustless asked doubtfully. The sun had just risen. At this time, most people were still sleeping. Everyone was very lazy at dawn, and Dustless was no exception. The second in command of the Confucian school, Yen Lu, is here. He said he wants to see Dong Huang Tai. Great Si Ming said faintly. He looked at young Si Ming, who was sleeping peacefully in the room, and was quite jealous. After all, she was the first person to have sex with Dustless. Him. Dustless frowned and asked, did that guy say what he was here for? No, he didn't. This time, it was concubine Yen who spoke. As Dustless became the leader of the school of yin-yang, there were no extra restrictions on her relationship with Yu, and her mother. They could meet whenever they wanted to. Therefore, concubine Yen was very loyal to Dustless. Do we need to kill him? He dared to enter the mirage alone. He has guts. Concubine Yen sneered. If it was outside the mirage, it would be fine. However, Yen Lu had entered the mirage alone, which was full of experts. It was obviously an early death. Don't worry. I will take care of Fun Yen and Yen Lu. Moreover, they can die anywhere but in the mirage. Dustless waved his hand. As a spy of the Confucian school, he could take care of these two people. But he said he wants to see Dong Huang Tai. Moon Goddess said hesitantly, Dong Huang Tai has left the school of yin-yang. Where can we find him? This is very simple. Outsiders have never seen the real Dong Huang Tai, right? Dustless smiled mysteriously. This is true. Moon Goddess, concubine Yen, and Great Si Ming looked at each other and nodded at the same time. Dong Huang Tai was always dressed in black and wore a gloomy mask. No one knew who he was, and no one could see his real face. So, this mission can be completed by anyone. Anyway, no one has seen Dong Huang Tai. Anyone can be Dong Huang Tai. Wu Chen narrowed his eyes, a sly look flickering in them. Bring me the clothes that Dong Huang Tai usually wears. I will pretend to be Dong Huang Tai. Yen Lu dared to sneak into the mirage alone. I want to see if he has eaten a bear's heart or a leopard's guts. On the mirage, in the lobby that was usually used to receive guests. He is not here yet. Yen Lu paced back and forth. His calm state of mind was rippling. He had been waiting for 2 hours, but Dong Huang Tai still had not come to receive him. It was extremely rude to leave a guest aside and not ask about it, especially for a sect like the Confucian school that paid attention to etiquette. It could be seen that the school of yin-yang looked down on the Confucian school. Isn't it a pleasure to have friends from afar? There is such a saying in the Confucian school, right? A strange sound wave spread out. Yen Lu looked up and saw a strange yet expectant figure. It was so quiet that it seemed to have come out of the void. There was not even a trace of fluctuation. It was like a dead man walking upright. Yen Lu could not sense his aura. Seeing this, Yen Lu was shocked. He said in disbelief, "This is Dong Huang Tai. He is indeed as unfathomable as the rumors say. I can't even see how he appeared." Chapter 1920. Senior. Yan Lu hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed apologetically. Senior, please forgive me for my sudden visit. Don't worry about it. We will be on the same side in the future. If you have something to say, just say it. Dustless disguised himself as Dong Huang Tai spoke like an old man. Why are you calling me senior? Dustless was quite uncomfortable with this title. A few days ago, because he had become the third master of the Confucian school, he had helplessly called Yen Lu and Fu Nian senior brothers. Now, this fellow had suddenly changed to calling him senior. This world was changing really quickly. What is it? Dustless disguised himself as Dong Huang Tai and Yen Lu sat down. Dustless looked at the latter expectantly, hoping that this fellow would give him a suitable answer. To tell you the truth, I have come to discuss the marriage of the Confucian school Ziqin and your young master Ming. After thinking for a bit, Yen Lu said, my senior brother Fu Nian said that the sooner the marriage, the better. It's me for this matter. Wu Chen's face was filled with disappointment. He originally thought that Yen Lu had brought some shocking news. It turned out that it was just this stupid matter of a marriage alliance. He immediately felt very bored and somewhat regretted coming to see Yen Lu. Let's hold it in the next few days. Dustless casually said, in the next few days, I will order young Master Ming and Ziqin to get married. From then on, the two families will become one. That would be for the best. Yen Lu was overjoyed. He did not expect Dong Huang Tai to so readily agree to the conditions of the Confucian school. Thinking of Fu Nian's instructions, Yen Lu opened his mouth. Just as he was about to pull the relationship between the two families closer, Dustless disguised as Dong Huang Tai's voice came first. To tell you the truth, just a while ago, the original third master of the Confucian school suddenly came. Wu Chen suddenly said something shocking. His words stunned Yen Lu on the spot. He looked at Wu Chen with a head full of fog. Zifang. After being stunned for a few seconds, Yen Lu came back to his senses. He recalled Zhang Liang's background and the grudge between him and the Qin dynasty. His heart skipped a beat, and he sighed inwardly. Could it be that Zifang launched a sneak attack on the school of Enyang? Looking at Dustless disguised as Dong Huang Tai, Yen Lu suddenly felt despair. Look at how scared you are. Dustless stared at the nervous Yen Lu with a mocking look, then laughed in his heart. He pretended to be filled with killing intent and said, that guy just sneakily attacked the guardian of the school of Enyang, Moon God. This, Dustless's sudden words caused Yen Lu's expression to change drastically. Perhaps the relationship between the Enyang school and the Confucian school would be destroyed because of Zhang Liang. Senior, Zifang is young and ignorant. May I ask where he is? I will definitely teach him a lesson and give you a perfect answer. Yen Lu quickly spoke up for Zhang Liang and begged, as for the injuries of the guardian of the moon god, the Confucian school is willing to take full responsibility. Seeing that the two factions are about to be connected by marriage, please just let it go. Of course. I still trust the Confucian school. However, Zhang Liang. Dustless's tone became slightly heavy. In the barren mountains west of Mulberry Sea, Zhang Liang is surrounded by the Enyang school. I hope you can persuade him to turn back. Thank you, senior. Goodbye. Yen Lu left with a face full of gratitude. He left the Mirage without stopping and did not return to the Little Saint Manor. Instead, he went to the barren mountains west of Mulberry Sea City that Dustless said. When did Zhang Liang sneak attack the moon god? Why didn't I know? She was fine just now. Seeing Yen Lu leave anxiously, concubine Yen, who had rushed over, asked. Of course, I made it up. Taking off the heavy prop that was Dong Huang Tai, Dustless smiled sinisterly. Unfortunately, Yen Lu will not meet Zhang Liang. He will die there forever. He tricked Yen Lu out of the city just to find a suitable place to kill him. Dustless did not have a good impression of Zhang Liang. He was insidious, hypocritical, and liked to play tricks. Yan Lu had helped Zhang Liang time and time again. In that case, he could not blame Dustless for being ruthless. Who are those people? Standing on the mirage, Dustless could not help but frown as he looked at the soldiers of the Qin state walking on the street. Although they were all soldiers of the Qin state, their aura was different. These soldiers that he had never seen before were definitely the elites of the elites. You don't know. Concubine Yan looked at Dustless in surprise. After seeing that he did not seem to be lying, she said, "Those are the Shadow Secret Guards, Yingzhang's shadows. Their general is Zhang Han, Yingzhang's trusted subordinate. I heard that he is loyal to the Qin state and will carry out any order." I see. No wonder I feel a sense of familiarity. It's Zhang Han. Dustless looked at the general on the horse. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. Those who were stared at by Zhang Han could not help but have goosebumps. Zhang Han's strength is not bad. He can be considered an expert. His ability to solve cases is superb. I did not expect Zhang to send him here. It seems like he values Shanghai a lot, Concubine Yan said. The one who should have a headache was the anti-Qin alliance. Zhang Han is loyal to the Qin state. That's a big mistake. Zhang Han is loyal to Yingzhang. Wu Qin sneered. In history, Zhang Han was a person with both praise and blame. After Yingzhang's death, the Qin state fell into an unprecedented turmoil. All of this was because Xiao Gao appointed Hu Hai, the second son of the Qin state, as the emperor. Under the tyrannical rule, all kinds of uprisings broke out. It was worth mentioning that the hegemon of Western Chu, Xiang Yu, led his army to war with Zhang Han. During the Battle of Julu, the Qin army led by Zhang Han was defeated by the Chu army. Logically speaking, someone like Zhang Han who was highly valued by Yingzhang should have died in battle to thank Yingzhang. However, that was not the case. Zhang Han shamelessly submitted to Xiang Yu and even brought along 200,000 surrendered Qin soldiers. Later on, Xiang Yu was afraid that the surrendered Qin soldiers would revolt, so he displayed the ruthlessness of the hegemon of Western Chu and killed all 200,000 surrendered Qin soldiers. Because of this, Zhang Han was given the title of Traitor of Qin. Chapter 1921. Zhang Han and his secret shadow guards entering Mulberry Sea was just a small interlude. In the end, he's just a clown who thinks he's infallible. Dustless glanced at Zhang Han and followed Yan Lu. Zhang Han might be glorious now and in the future, but his ending was tragic. He was defeated by Liu Bang, the founding emperor of the Han dynasty, and he committed suicide. However, some people you don't care about just love to care about you. Are you Ziqin from the Confucian school? As soon as Wu Qin came down from the elusive mirage, Zhang Han leaped down from his steed and greeted him warmly. However, his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's, threatening to pierce through anyone's heart. That's right. What can I do for you? Dustless glanced at Zhang Han and asked frivolously. Seeing this, Zhang Han's eyebrows shot up. Ordinary people wouldn't even dare to breathe loudly in front of him, let alone someone as calm as Wu Qin. I also know that other than being the third head of the Confucian school, you also have a special identity, the left guardian of the school of Yin Yang. Zhang Han said. You're quite well informed. Dustless's eyes widened slightly. He was surprised by Zhang Han's intelligence. Then, he glanced at the elusive mirage. There were probably spies from the Qin army on it. Thinking about it, it made sense. Who was Qin Shi Huang? He was the first emperor in history, and he was able to unify the 6 states. His foresight was unparalleled. As the saying goes, how can one allow others to sleep beside one's bed? The 100 schools of thought were the source of chaos, but the school of Yin Yang was also one of them. It was normal for him to be wary of them. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. The secret shadow guards will take advantage of everything. Goodbye. After smiling, Zhang Han cupped his fists and left. The school of Yin Yang was Qin's ally, and the Confucian school wasn't Qin's enemy. What's the meaning of this? Is he here to show off? Behind Wu Chen, concubine Yen frowned as she stared at Zhang Han's back. She couldn't shake off the feeling that Zhang Han's words were laced with undisguised hostility. Concubine Yen, don't worry about it. Dustless waved his hand and explained with a smile, Yingjing values the school of Yin Yang. Naturally, some petty people are jealous. There's no need to bother with them. They're just a bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well. For example, Zhao Gao and Li Si were both afraid that the Yin Yang school would become too powerful and threaten their plans. In their hearts, Hu Hai was the most suitable to be emperor. Even though this guy was not as good as Fu Su, but for their own interests, Li Si and the others still chose the former. This is an internal conflict of the empire. It has nothing to do with us. Let's go and destroy that brat Yen Lu, and then kill Fu Nian. It's best if we can find a suitable reason to shift the blame to Zhang Liang and kick this eyesore cockroach out of the Confucian school. Dustless said with a cold smile. Then, he glanced in the direction where Yen Lu had disappeared and followed him like the wind. As for Yen Lu's life and death, it was undeniable that this person was not bad and did not have any conflict with Dustless. However, they had different standpoints and stood on opposite sides of each other. It was inevitable that they would meet on the battlefield. Secondly, Yen Lu had helped Zhang Liang time and time again. This had also touched Dustless's bottom line. Strange, in the barren mountains outside Mulberry Sea City, Yen Lu frowned as he stared at the surrounding desolate area. He had been wandering around for almost 2 hours, but he did not find any trace of Zhang Liang and the others. Could it be that the school of Yin Yang's information was wrong? Yen Lu guessed. After searching for a long time, he still did not find anyone from the school of Yin Yang. Tap, 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 at this moment, light footsteps suddenly sounded. Yen Lu subconsciously turned his head. Zichen. After seeing who it was, Yen Lu felt even more strange, especially when he saw the woman in a palace dress standing beside him. His brows were almost knitted together, and he was somewhat dissatisfied. Even though he was about to have a marriage alliance with the school of Yin Yang, there was no need to be so close to the school of Yin Yang, right? Why are you here? Yen Lu glanced at concubine Yen. If not for her existence, Yen Lu really wanted to tell Dustless to keep a distance from concubine Yen. Perhaps because of Zhang Liang's influence, Yen Lu also felt a little repulsed by the school of Yin Yang, but he did not show it. Second senior brother, are you looking for a wife? Wu Chen asked with a smile. His expression looked harmless to humans and animals. Ever since he became the third master of the Confucian school, Dustless had been upgraded magnificently. Yen Lu, Fu Nian, and Dustless had become the same generation. That's right. Yen Lu nodded. Just as he was about to speak, a flash of light suddenly burst out in his eyes. An extremely exaggerated light rushed toward him at a rapid speed. Realizing that something was wrong, Yen Lu hurriedly drew his sword, but it was already too late. In front of light, no one was an exception. Pfft! Fresh blood flowed out of the corner of Yen Lu's mouth. He looked down in disbelief. It was a dazzling golden sword, and the person who waved the butcher's knife at him was his third junior brother, who looked sunny and gentle just now. At this moment, his expression was cold. His pitch-black eyes were isolated from the world, as if he was not a person of this world. Zichen. This is your true face. Looking at Dustless, who was so close to him, Yen Lu gritted his teeth and said, I don't understand. Is it because of my relationship with Zifang that I am on your must-kill list? This is just one of the reasons. A mysterious force twisted his face, and the face that was made up by Great Sea Ming returned to normal. A face that was different from Zichen's was revealed. You are dustless. Yen Lu's pupils suddenly shrank, and his fists cracked. Zifang, that bastard, brought you into the Confucian school. He wants to kill little Saint Zhuang. Chapter 1922. At this moment, Yen Lu could finally understand Fu Nian's heart. No wonder his relationship with Zhang Liang was so bad. Zhang Liang was a straightforward person. He did everything according to his will. Or rather, he was more straightforward. Everything was based on the recovery of Korea. He completely ignored the life and death of the sage manor. Regret it? Dustless pulled out the sharp edge of the heaven-gathering cloud sword. He smiled and joked, if you want to complain, you can only blame Zhang Liang. It's best to go to the king of hell and sue that kid. It was Zifang who introduced you to the Confucian school. No matter what, he has done you a favor. Why do you repay kindness with enmity? Yen Lu fell to the ground when he noticed that his vitality was quickly disappearing and his abdomen was bleeding. He was in a trance, and dustless was blurred in his eyes. You said Zhang Liang has done me a favor. Yen Lu, what a joke. Zhang Liang just wanted to use me to deal with the Qin state, and Fu Nian just wanted to use me. The marriage with the Yinyang school, hoping that the Confucian school would soar and soar to the sky. However, it was undeniable that Fu Nian's dream had indeed been achieved. But the head of the Confucian school will also be changed. Dustless sneered, to put it bluntly, the Confucian school is just a place to hide evil. Although the Confucian school read the books of the sages every day, as the saying goes, no one is without a sage, and everyone has their own selfish motives. There is no exception to this. Sun Tzu of the Confucian school once said that human nature is evil. Youth, staring deeply at Dustless, Yen Lu asked, did Dong Huang Tai ask you to kill me? At that time, he could have killed me directly on the mirage. There was no need to go through so much trouble like now, making a trap and deliberately waiting for me to take the bait. Yen Lu didn't think that he could escape from the mirage, which was full of experts. Stupid guy, haven't you realized it yet? How sad. Concubine Yen looked at Yen Lu disdainfully and sneered, the Confucian school really likes to be self-righteous. Isn't it Dong Huang Tai in front of you? When mentioning Dong Huang Tai, Concubine Yen deliberately emphasized the word. What? Are you Dong Huang Tai? Hearing that, Yen Lu shuddered, and a panicked expression appeared on his face. He did not expect the dustless in front of him to be the Dong Huang Tai that the 100 schools of thought feared. I've already kicked him out of the school of Yinyang. The Dong Huang Tai you were talking to was me. Dustless explained as if nothing had happened. Since Yen Lu was a dying man, there was no harm in telling him everything. Yen Lu's heart was filled with despair. In a trance, he had already understood Dustless's plan. After killing me, you will probably kill senior brother Fu Nian and become the new head of the Confucian school. You are really a vicious villain, vicious. Dustless mulled over this word. He lowered his head and squatted down, looking into Yen Lu's eyes. Don't you think it's funny? Even if I don't interfere, the Confucian school will still die. In the future, Qin Shi Huanging Zhang's burning of books and burying of Confucianism was caused by Zhang Liang. Most of the disciples of the little sage manor were buried alive by Yingzheng. Zhang Liang has boarded the pirate ship of the anti-Qin alliance. He has already implicated the Confucian school. Only by handing the Confucian school to me can you prevent such a monstrous disaster from happening. I am the head of the school of Yinyang. I can protect the Confucian school, so the Confucian school can continue to exist safely. Do you still think I'm vicious? Hurry up and call me a great philanthropist. Dustless did not understand where Yen Lu's ignorant prejudice came from. In what way was he inferior to Zhang Liang? Identity, status, or strength? He had an overwhelming advantage in all of them. Are you saying that Zifang is related to the rebellion? Yen Lu gritted his teeth, and the veins on his fists bulged. When Zhang Liang was related to the rebels, the Confucian school was already finished. The Qin state's laws were harsh, and there was the crime of being implicated, which meant that the little sage manor could not stay out of it. Once it was exposed, it would definitely suffer a fierce attack from the Qin state. Impossible. Zifang would never collude with the rebels. He still has a bottom line. Yen Lu shook his head stubbornly, looking like a one-track mind. Ha 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 ha. How sad. Are you still lying to yourself? Zhang Liang joined the Confucian school just to use the power of the Confucian school to recover Korea. Your Confucian school, the school of Mo, and Wei Zhuang's quicksand are actually props for that kid to restore his country. Hearing this, Dustless could not help but laugh out loud. He mocked, it's even more ridiculous to say that Zhang Liang would never collude with the rebels. You're still lying through your teeth. Am I not the biggest rebel in the world? And the person who led me to the Confucian school is Zhang Liang. You still dare to say that he would not collude with the rebels? That's nonsense. Dustless's bounty was the highest in the world. No one could challenge him. Yingzheng is tyrannical. Zifang was not wrong to rebel against him. Even if he did something inappropriate, it was human nature. I still believe in him. His vitality was completely exhausted. Yen Lu finally fell to the ground. There was no breath left. There was a relieved smile on his face. It was not difficult to see that he believed in Zhang Liang's choice until his death. It's not wrong to be anti-Qin, but it's not important to me. In this world, whether the future master's surname is Ying or Zhang, it has nothing to do with me. But Zhang Liang, that kid, was wrong to go against me. He deserved to die. Glancing at Yen Lu's corpse, Dustless's eyes spun faster. Tens Ho. The dark fire engulfed every part of Yen Lu's body and evaporated him in an instant. He disappeared without a trace, not even leaving a corpse behind. Concubine Yen, you can go back. Leave the rest to me. After staying for a while, Dustless turned around and left with Concubine Yen. His shining eyes were full of determination. Since the plan had been implemented, Dustless would not hesitate to retreat. Once he stepped out, even if there was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood in front of him, there was no turning back. Chapter 1923. Be careful. Fu Nian is not a kind person. He is powerful and good at scheming. Also, the Confucians are not easy to deal with. Don't forget that in addition to Fu Nian, the Confucians also have a mysterious Sun Zi. Concubine Yen nodded and cautiously told Dustless to be careful. The reason why she was able to meet Yue was all because of Wu Qin. Otherwise, if she was still the Eastern Emperor Tai of the past, she would probably still be locked up in an ice-cold prison. Don't worry. Dustless gave her a reassuring look. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and he smiled very calmly. In Mulberry Sea City, black smoke covered the sun, and the pungent smell made people uncomfortable. Look, the Sage Manor is on fire again. This is bad. The Sage Manor is the holy land of scholars in the world. The fire must have caused heavy losses. There are many insights left by the Confucian sages in it. That's right. Poor thing, I remember that many years ago, the Sage Manor was on fire. What's the situation this time? Was it man-made, or was it an accident? Who knows? The Confucians are really unlucky. Looking at the distant black smoke rising into the sky, the common people of Mulberry Sea City began to whisper to each other. All of them had blank looks on their faces. The Confucian school was just too unlucky. In the past, there had been a sudden fire that had caused heavy losses. This time, the momentum of the fire seemed even fiercer than before. The entire sky had been burned bright red, and even hundreds of meters away, they could feel the blazing heat. Fire? What's going on? Dustless, who had just returned to Mulberry Sea City, also looked up in surprise at the Sage Manor in the distance, where the smoke was rising from all directions. Immediately, he quickly sped away. Before he left, he still remembered that the Sage Manor was safe and sound. Why did the Sage Manor inexplicably catch fire in less than 2 hours? Which bastard is so bold to set fire to the Sage Manor? Dustless rushed back to the Sage Manor. At the same time, his brain cells were working frantically, thinking about who dared to set fire to the Sage Manor. Why are you so sure that it was done by someone else? The fundamental reason was that the Little Saint Manor had a big fire in the past. The fire prevention equipment was very comprehensive. Usually, they paid great attention to setting fires. The bamboo slips for books were also specially treated. It was very difficult for them to catch fire. Moreover, even if they did catch fire, it was absolutely controllable. However, the current fire was too shocking. It was definitely caused by human factors. Damn it, this is bad. Inside the Sage Manor, the Confucian disciples were all in a flurry. They carried buckets of water and ran to put out the fire. However, the fire this time was extremely terrifying. It was unrealistic to put out the fire with manpower alone. The fire was getting bigger and bigger. Fu Nian was sweating profusely as he directed the scholarly disciples to extinguish the fire. Looking at the monstrous flames, even though he was sweating profusely, his heart was cold. Which bastard did this? If I catch him. Humph. A cold light condensed in Fu Nian's eyes. The origin of this flame was too strange. In just 10 minutes, it had spread to the Sage Manor. It was definitely man-made. Grand Master, we found the source of the fire. The scholarly disciples were covered in dust, their faces covered in soot, looking extremely comical. Very good. Hearing this, Fu Nian's spirit was refreshed. He couldn't wait to ask, where was the fire first? Quickly take me to see. It's Grand Master Sun's place. The scholarly disciples looked at each other and gave an answer that Fu Nian didn't expect. Damn it. Fu Nian was furious. His heart suddenly quivered. A deep sense of unease spread out and spread throughout Fu Nian's heart. He hurriedly ran to Sun Zi's residence. Sun Zi's temperament was quiet. He lived alone in the bamboo forest. Usually, no one would disturb him. He lived in seclusion. It was indeed a good choice to set a fire at his place. There was also one thing that was certain. Sun Zi wouldn't set fire to the Sage Manor. There was no doubt about this. After all, he was a scholarly disciple. Therefore, there were only two possibilities. Either Sun Zi suddenly went out and was seized by the villains to set the fire, or Sun Zi was killed. Even if someone set the fire, they couldn't stop it. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. After passing through the bamboo forest, Fu Nian finally arrived at Sun Zi's residence. It was a mess as he imagined. It was all burned to ashes. The bamboo forest, which was usually beautiful, had become a dangerous place. Someone's here. Fu Nian looked over and suddenly saw two figures. Zi Fong and Zi Qin. Fu Nian frowned. These two figures were Dustless and Zhang Liang. He asked anxiously, "Where's Grandmaster Sun? Is he okay?" "He's already dead." Zhang Liang sighed and pointed to the two charred corpses in the distance. "There are knife wounds on their bodies." I'm afraid someone deliberately set the fire after they were killed. Moreover, from the looks of the fire, half of the Sage Manor was burned in less than an hour. There's an 80% chance that they were prepared. I know this, Fu Nian nodded solemnly. The fire this time was obviously man-made. Moreover, Sunzi was killed before the fire was set. Although Sunzi was old, his strength was very good. Moreover, his inner strength was profound. To be able to kill him silently, the person who plotted against the Sage Manor must be unfathomable. Damn bastard. How dare you snatch my things? I really admire your courage. Dustless had a conflicted expression. He searched for a long time but couldn't find the Yellowstone Heavenly Book that he had temporarily given to Sun Zi. It was most likely burned. However, nothing was absolute. Dustless felt that the Yellowstone Heavenly Book must have been snatched away. Who would watch such a good treasure be burned? It didn't make sense. Moreover, Wu Chen had also guessed who the mastermind behind the arson this time was. The two of them should have guessed who it is. He glanced at Zhang Liang and Fu Nian. Their eyes were flickering. They should have guessed who the mastermind was, but they were helpless because they didn't have any evidence to blame. Chapter 1924. Only the 6 sword slaves can do this. They are also hostile to the Confucian school. Little Sage Zhuanghuahua and Li Si were inextricably linked. After a while, Zhang Liang said with bright eyes, I can't think of any other candidates besides them. Well, your analysis makes sense. Although Li Si is Martial Uncle Sun's student, they have no feelings for each other. Li Si even hates Martial Uncle Sun. Maybe it's because of what happened last time. Sigh, Fu Nian's face was bleak, and then he nodded thoughtfully. It seemed that he also thought so. Zhang Liang is indeed very smart. Dustless's thoughts were not far from Zhang Liang's. Looking at the known masters in this world, there seemed to be no other suitable candidates except the 6 sword slaves. The 6 of them cooperated closely and could be said to be flawless. It was not a coincidence that Sun Zi died under their swords. Moreover, Li Si also disliked killing people to silence them. Due to the death of Han Fizi, Sun Zi and Li Si parted ways. Especially when they met at the Little Sage Manor last time, Sun Zi made Li Si lose face. Li Si was even more determined to take revenge on the Confucian school. It was normal for him to set fire to the Little Sage Manor. Moreover, he had a criminal record. When the Little Sage Manor was on fire, Li Si's whereabouts were strange. He had an unknown premeditation. Sigh, with a lonely sigh, Fu Nian's eyes were particularly helpless. He smiled helplessly and said, even if we know that Li Si instigated it, can we take revenge on him? The people don't fight with the palace. Besides, the Little Sage Manor doesn't even have evidence. It will only be regarded as framing. Although he was unwilling, Fu Nian had to bow his head. Framing the Prime Minister was not a small crime. But even so, we can't bear it. We have to resist. Otherwise, Li Si will be even more presumptuous. Zhang Liang glanced at Fu Nian and felt that his opportunity had come. He tentatively suggested, why don't we immediately cancel the engagement with the Yinyang school as a means to take revenge on Li Si and Zhao Gao? They are allies of the Qin kingdom anyway. Wait, Dustless, who couldn't stand it anymore, interrupted. He stared at Zhang Liang and asked, it's okay for me to cancel the engagement with young judge, but what does this have to do with taking revenge on Li Si? That's right. These are 2 completely different things. Fu Nian also asked with a frown. Not only did he have no intention of declining this marriage, but his eyes lit up as he said, I think we can use the power of the Yinyang school to fight against Li Si and take revenge. This. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Zhang Liang stared blankly. He suddenly realized that he had lifted a rock and smashed his own foot in the end. Originally, he hoped that Fu Nian would hate the state of Qin because of this, but unexpectedly, he valued the Yinyang school more and borrowed their strength to deal with Zhao Gao and Li Si. Perhaps this is what it means when things reach an extreme, they will move in the opposite direction. Zhang Liang's heart was filled with emotions. He looked at the silent Dushless with hidden bitterness. Every time this guy appeared, he would be possessed by the god of misfortune. Even drinking water would get stuck in the gaps between his teeth. Who told you to be so full of yourself, always thinking that you can change everything? You're just asking for humiliation. Serves you right, you idiot. It was said that the eyes were the windows to the soul. Dustless saw Zhang Liang's depressed heart through his eyes. Let's put out the fire for the time being. We'll talk about the future later. Fu Nian looked at the corpses of Sun Zi and his errand boy, and his eyes flashed with hatred. Damn Zhao Gao and Li Si. I didn't find trouble with you, but you two reckless things still dared to come out and court death. I really don't know where you get your confidence from. Do you think my things are so easy to take? Dustless left expressionlessly and sneered in his heart, anyway, I'm already the leader of the Yinyang school. I'll just leave this kind of thing to them. As for Dustless, he secretly glanced at Fu Nian from the corner of his eyes. He was thinking about how to kill him and then frame Zhang Liang, and finally kick Zhang Liang out of the Confucian school. It was definitely more interesting to make this guy a stray dog than to kill him. Every time he looked at Zhang Liang's wise eyes that seemed to control everything, Dustless felt a wave of disgust. That's right. His eyes suddenly lit up. Dustless came up with a plan. He quickly moved to Fu Nian's side and suddenly said, the Yinyang school wants me and young Master Si Ming to get married soon. As for the location, it's at the Mirage. Mirage. Fu Nian was slightly dissatisfied. If possible, he really didn't want to go to such a place. But then he glanced at the sage manor behind him. It had been burned into a desolate place and was obviously not suitable for marriage. In this way, the Mirage would inevitably be the first choice, so Fu Nian could only follow Dustless's wishes. Let's do it at the Mirage. This time, we have to make the scene bigger. The Confucian school must not lose face. Fu Nian's face was as sharp as a knife, and his face was serious. Borrowing the strength of the Yinyang school to take revenge on Zhao Gao and Li Si is a good plan. I'll go too. Zhang Liang's eyes shot out a bright light, and he immediately took the lead to speak. However, Zhang Liang wanted to cry but had no tears. He had hoped that this incident would tear up the marriage contract between the two sides in one fell swoop. Who would have thought that the situation would turn around in the end? Such an unexpected result made Zhang Liang feel bitter and hateful. I was afraid that you wouldn't go. Otherwise, how could I trap you, kid? Dustless glanced at Zhang Liang with a slight sneer. He was really afraid that he would choose to turn a deaf ear. If Zhang Liang was willing to dig a hole himself, wouldn't that be the best ending? It would save Dustless the trouble of scheming against him. When is the specific time? Staring at Dustless, Fu Nian's eyes finally regained some light, as if he saw the hope of taking revenge on Li Si. 5 days later. Dustless raised 5 fingers and said slowly. Chapter 1925. Time flew by, and in a flash, it was the wedding day 5 days later. Time came and went in a hurry. On the Mirage, looking at the scenery of Mulberry Sea City in the distance, Dustless's young face had a look of age and vicissitudes that didn't match his age. Time really flies. Looking at the dazzling morning sun, Dustless sighed in a low voice. He stretched lazily and calmly moved his muscles and bones. He had just gotten up from his sleep and was a little dispirited. Just at this moment, soft and boneless arms hugged him from behind. What's the matter? Turning his head, Dustless saw a slender purple hair fluttering in the wind and into his eyes with a faint fragrance. Although her cheeks were covered by a veil, he could still clearly see her stunning appearance. I can only look for you if there's something. Xiao Ximing blinked her deep eyes and said with a little dissatisfaction, it's all your fault. In my life, there's only one solemn wedding, but you used it to scheme against others. Sorry, how do you want me to compensate you? Turning his head and looking at Xiao Ximing with a gentle gaze, Dustless pinched her white jade-like face, and then gently pecked Xiao Ximing's cheek. So fragrant. Dustless's face was full of enjoyment as he held Xiao Ximing's willowy waist. After a few days of peaceful life, he felt quite comfortable. You're not allowed to leave the Mirage for 3 days. Xiao Ximing's lively eyes rolled a few times. Her usual cold tone was now a little coquettish. She had never been like this before. Dustless had always been elusive and difficult to find. Unless he took the initiative to look for you, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to find this guy. Of course, no problem. Hearing this, Dustless straightforwardly agreed and said flatly, after killing Fu Nian and framing Zhang Liang, the only one left in the Confucian school is me. Young Master Ming nodded gently. Dustless's words implied that from now on, the Confucian school would have no leader. When the time came, they would be like fish on the chopping board. They could do whatever they wanted to them or even disband. Fu Nian was dead, Yan Lu was also dead, Zhang Liang had been expelled, and Sun Zi had also been assassinated by Zhao Gao's six-sword slave. As a result, the Confucian school was left with Dustless as its third master. The position of sect leader was undoubtedly his, and he held great power in his hands. Is everyone here? As far as the eye could see, there was a group of people docked at the harbor closest to the Mirage. Almost all of the important disciples of the Confucian school had come. Fu Nian and Zhang Liang were both present, and it was worth mentioning that even Tianming and Xiaoyu, these two brats, were present. Other than that, there was also Li Si, Xiao Gao, Xiao Meng, and even Fu Su. Of course, there was also Zhang Han whom he had met a few days ago. The school of Yinyang really has a lot of face. They have invited so many important and prominent people at once. Dustless was quite surprised at the influence of the school of Yinyang. In the end, it was just a sect, but even an heir of the empire like Fu Su had come without any trouble. It was truly impressive. Young Master Ming was speechless. She said coquettishly, "You are the new sect leader of the school of Yinyang, and you don't even know the power of your own sect? I think you are the fake one." Ahem, Dustless coughed awkwardly and immediately changed the topic. He said, "Let Moon Goddess go and receive them. Also, tell Concubine Yen and Great Master Ming that since Xiao Gao and Li Si are here, their residence must be lax. Sneak in now and find my Yellowstone Heavenly Book and steal it." The Mirage was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. The red lanterns that symbolized joy stretched as far as the eye could see. "Where is Dong Huang Tai? Your school of Yinyang is so impressive. Young Master is here, and he did not come to receive you personally." As soon as he stepped onto the Mirage, Li Si used this as a pretext to make a fuss. He stared at Moon Goddess and scolded unhappily, "Does the school of Yinyang think that young Master's identity is not enough for Dong Huang Tai to receive you personally?" Ever since the marriage between the school of Yinyang and the school of Confucianism, Li Si and Zhao Gao had categorized these two sects as enemies. "Lord Minister." Seeing Li Si's sudden attack, Moon Goddess was calm and composed. She replied calmly, "The hierarch is in seclusion and is not on the Mirage. Lord Minister, why do you care about this?" Furthermore, young Master Fu Su did not care. "Lord Minister, since you are so impatient, do you have other plans?" "You don't talk nonsense." Li Si's expression changed slightly. He sneaked a glance at Fu Su. Seeing that his expression was normal, he could only swallow his anger. Fu Su did not say anything. What else could he say? It was inevitable that people would gossip about him. If you want to talk, please continue. Forgive me for not keeping you company. Xiao Meng of the Sky Sect walked away gracefully. She walked straight to the mirage. Her snow-white legs could be seen from time to time. They were evenly distributed and perfect. Not bad. On a tall building, Dustless looked down at Xiao Meng and nodded approvingly. Ouch! At the same time, Dustless suddenly felt his waist being attacked. He grimaced in pain. He turned around and saw young Master Ming pouting her seductive lips and looking at him with dissatisfaction. What's so good about that woman? She doesn't care about anything around her. She is too arrogant. Young Master Ming exposed Xiao Meng's shortcomings. I didn't say she was good-looking. Dustless answered hesitantly. It seemed that she was imagining things. It was every woman's nature to be jealous. Who would believe you? Slightly wrinkling her nose, Xiao Ximing teased Ji Hao, which was rare for her, as if she was joking. If that was a thick, black, hairy leg, would you still be mesmerized by it? This, Wu Qian was rendered speechless by young Master Ming's question. Although Xiao Meng's slender legs were very attractive, Wu Qian was still a womanizer. He wouldn't be so infatuated with a woman. Especially when he was just looking at her legs, it would be a complete joke. The reason why he paid attention to Xiao Meng was because of other details. Chapter 1926. This woman is indeed aggressive. After looking carefully for a while, Xiao Ximing also noticed the difference. Is that so? You've finally noticed. Don't say that I've been charmed by her in the future. Dustless breathed a sigh of relief. Women are unusually troublesome when they're stuck in a dead end. After sorting out his thoughts, just as he was about to explain in detail, Xiao Ximing's words almost made Dustless fall out of the window in anger. This Tianzong Xiaomeng is really doing things her own way. Someone else is getting married, but she, as an invited guest, didn't even take the betrothal gift. Is the Tianzong of Taoism so unreasonable? Xiao Ximing wrinkled her nose, looking even more dissatisfied. Especially when Xiaomeng was casually rampaging through the Yinyang school's territory, Xiao Ximing was somewhat against it. Betrothal gift. I couldn't tell that you're a little money grubber. Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Staring at Xiaomeng, who seemed to be wandering around, he explained, Do you see the sword in her hand? The problem lies with the sword. Sword. Hearing Ji Hao, Xiao Ximing carefully observed the sword held in Xiaomeng's hand, then said in surprise, I heard that Xiaomeng's sword is called Autumn Lily, which is ranked number 9 in the sword book. Why is it now ranked number 6, Snow? Could it be that Xiaoming defeated Xiao Yaozi and regained control of Clear Snow? I don't know. Dustless shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. In the original work, Clear Snow had always been controlled by Xiao Yaozi of Human Sect. Now that it was taken by Xiaomeng, there was only one possibility. To a certain extent, Xiao Yaozi might have been killed by Xiaomeng. Of course, nothing is absolute. Squinting his eyes, Wu Qian continued, Xiaomeng is a very strange person. Her character is unpredictable. Perhaps she has made some kind of deal with Xiao Yaozi, and it is also possible that she used snow calming as the exchange condition. But, the trivial matters of Taoism have nothing to do with us. Act according to the plan. After killing Fu Nian, blame it on Zhang Liang. Fu Su and Li Si are all here. Now is a good opportunity to ruin Zhang Liang's reputation. It's a pity to let it go. Dustless's eyes glowed with a ferocious light as his gaze finally landed on Fu Nian's head. Where's Master Zichin? In the gold and jade hall, Fu Su sat in the main seat. After seeing Dustless was absent, he could not help but look at Moon God and ask, in such an important occasion, where is the master? Moon God hesitated. She didn't know what Dustless was doing, so she said, maybe he's preparing for the wedding. What a pity. Right at this moment, Xiao Meng spoke abruptly, that kid ran away the last time we discussed the Tao using words. He probably won't refuse this time, right? Everyone frowned when they heard this. Today was someone else's wedding day, yet Xiao Meng wanted to discuss the Tao with the sword. Was this appropriate? It was clearly a slap in the face. Jijia, on the other hand, Xiao Gao and Li Si were rather excited. They revealed gloating smiles. Xiao Meng of the Heaven sect of Taoism. She is indeed an unpredictable character. If I remember correctly, she should be the helper Dustless found by Fu Su. Why would she make things difficult for Dustless? Zhang Liang was also extremely confused, but there was an obvious smile on his face. He looked rather happy. Those who didn't want the Yin Yang school and Confucian school to form an alliance through marriage were extremely happy. After all, Xiao Meng was clearly looking for trouble with Dustless. Wasn't this slapping the Yin Yang school and Confucian school in the face? Sigh. I can only hope that Master Zichen is safe. Fu Su was also extremely helpless about this. Xiao Meng was an extraordinary person. It was already good enough that she agreed to help him. As for restraining her, Fu Su had never thought about it. What was worth mentioning was that Xiao Meng wasn't invited to this wedding. She came completely uninvited, so she came empty-handed. She even threatened to cause trouble for Dustless. I am very grateful that everyone is willing to honor me with your presence. The deadlocked atmosphere was broken by this silent newcomer. Everyone followed the source of the commotion, and what entered their eyes was Wu Qin. His bright pupils were full of radiance, and he was brimming with vigor. You came at the right time. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to find you. When Xiao Meng saw Dustless appear, her right hand was already holding Snow Dawn. It looked like she was about to attack immediately. You're in such a hurry to humiliate yourself. Noticing that Xiao Meng was staring at him as if he was her prey, Dustless glanced at Moon Goddess. The latter immediately nodded. This is the Yin Yang school. If you want to attack, let me do it. Moon God calmly met Xiao Meng's gaze without any fear. As the right protector of the Yin Yang school, Moon God had no need to fear Xiao Meng, even if she was the head of the Heaven sect. I'm here to discuss the Tao with the people of Confucianism. You're not my prey. Xiao Meng only glanced at Moon God and ignored her. Her gaze finally fell on Dustless's head. You're also not my prey. Dustless complained in his heart. He wanted to kill Fu Nian. As for Xiao Meng, she was really not interested and did not have the slightest intention to fight. How about this? Dustless chuckled and looked at Zhang Liang with evil intentions. His face was full of evil smiles. What kind of trick does this guy have? Seeing Dustless's teasing expression, Zhang Liang's indifferent face, which originally wanted to watch a good show, suddenly collapsed. Every time he walked together with Dustless, he seemed to be innocently attacked. Chapter 1927. This damn thing. Zhang Liang wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Dustless's indifferent face was adorned with a faint smile, perhaps because he saw the pain in his heart. Zifang, you will represent the Confucian school to exchange a few moves with Master Xiao Meng. Dustless finally opened his mouth and deliberately emphasized the word Confucian school. This cunning and insidious guy, he did it on purpose. Zhang Liang's face was extremely gloomy and kept changing. He naturally knew that Dustless was tricking him, but he had no suitable reason to refute. If it was for Dustless himself, Zhang Liang could still refuse, but saying that it was for the Confucian school was equivalent to indirectly blocking Zhang Liang's path of retreat. If it was for Dustless, he could retreat, but if it was for the Confucian school, even if there were hungry wolves and fierce tigers in front of him, Zhang Liang would still bite the bullet. You win. After secretly glaring at Dustless, Zhang Liang could only helplessly stand up. Hee. It's your honor to sacrifice a little for me. You should be grateful. Dustless smiled without saying anything, looking at the depressed Zhang Liang, his cheeks sour. Master Xiaomeng. Zhang Liang stood up very elegantly, bowed slightly to Xiaomeng, and then cupped his fists. Zhang Liang of the Confucian school, please, no need. However, the sad thing was that before Zhang Liang could say the word teach, he was directly interrupted by the indifferent Xiaomeng. After sweeping a glance at him, he was instantly disappointed. A mere ordinary disciple of the Confucian school dares to fight with me. Are you humiliating me? Xiaomeng's words were sarcastic, looking at the silent Fu Nian with extreme dissatisfaction. Fu Nian felt a headache. If it was in the past, it would naturally be fine. But it was different now. A long time ago, Zhang Liang's identity had been stripped by Fu Nian, and the current third head of the Confucian school had become Dustless. As for Zhang Liang's current identity, he was just an ordinary disciple of the Confucian school. Although his strength was not bad, his identity and status were 1,000 miles away from Xiaomeng. Fu Nian had to call Xiaomeng senior when he saw him, which was enough to show how high this guy's seniority was. He was of the same level as Sun Zi, and Zhang Liang's identity was not suitable. Aren't you looking down on me too much? Zhang Liang was secretly depressed. He was extremely dissatisfied with Xiaomeng in his heart. Her words earlier were equivalent to mocking him in front of everyone, saying that his status was not qualified. Even with Zhang Liang's character, his expression took a turn for the worse. However, this was not the worst. Zhang Liang, you don't deserve to fight me. When Xiaomeng's sudden words came out of her mouth, Zhang Liang, who had suffered a huge blow, discovered that the way others looked at him had undergone a huge change. They were all filled with all sorts of disdain and undisguised disdain. Zhang Liang wanted nothing more than to find a hole in the ground to hide in after being told that he wasn't fit to fight. No matter what, his family had been prime ministers for 5 generations. Now, he had completely lost face. That's enough. You can leave now, Zifang. At this moment, Dustless suddenly looked at Zhang Liang with a look of disdain. That hateful gaze clearly revealed the meaning, what's the use of having you? This bastard will be struck to death by lightning sooner or later. Zhang Liang even had the thought of dying. His fists were tightly clenched. It seemed like he would start a fight at any moment. This fellow purposely let me come out to be humiliated by Xiaomeng. Zhang Liang's face turned black and extremely ugly. He finally understood Dustless's scheme. Xiaomeng's intention this time was naturally dustless. She had asked Zhang Liang to come out and brush her off. Naturally, the other party would not give her a good face. As for why Xiaomeng came for Dustless, Zhang Liang guessed that it was because the school of Yin Yang was still a part of the school of Taoism a few hundred years ago. Both sides had a great origin. Now, the school of Yin Yang was far more famous than the other schools of thought, including the school of Taoism. As the legal successor of the school of Taoism, Xiaomeng was naturally dissatisfied. The arrogant Xiaomeng probably wanted to use this opportunity to test the strength of the school of Yin Yang. Her original intention was to use the school of Yin Yang. Dustless's identity was undoubtedly the most suitable. In the past, he was a disciple of the Confucian school. Now, he was the husband of the school of Yin Yang. It was undoubtedly the most suitable to use him to slap her face and establish her prestige. This fellow knew from the beginning that Xiaomeng came for the school of Yin Yang. Therefore, he purposely let me come out to provoke Xiaomeng. He will only be satisfied after being humiliated by her in public. Despicable Dustless. Zhang Liang's heart was bleeding. Unknowingly, he had been tricked by Dustless again. In the end, Master Xiao Meng still wants to challenge me. Dustless looked at Xiao Meng with a helpless expression. In the end, he agreed, you can compete with me. However, what should I do if I lose? A competition is a competition. If you don't dare to, you don't dare to. Why are you asking what should I do if I lose? Could it be that you don't dare to? That's right. Xiao Meng nodded when she heard this. She looked at Dustless calmly and said, are you trying to raise conditions? It doesn't matter. As long as you can win, I can promise you anything. You are so confident. Looking at the calm Xiao Meng, Dustless couldn't help but have a whole new level of respect for her. He looked at Xiao Meng's sword and said, how about this? After you lose, you will hand over your snow calmness to me. How dare you? Without waiting for Xiao Meng to speak, Li Si, who had been scheming to take revenge on Dustless, took the initiative to attack. Do you know what this sword is? It represents the school of Taoism. It doesn't matter. Unexpectedly, Xiao Meng decisively slapped Li Si and agreed, if you can win, I can give it to you. This is the privilege of the winner. You should have the right to give it to the loser. This damned woman. I even spoke up for her. She doesn't know what's good for her. Seeing this, Li Si was incomparably depressed. Xiao Meng was too quick to add insult to injury. Chapter 1928. Straightforward. This was also within Dustless's expectations. In reality, he'd also guessed that Xiao Meng would agree. This fellow was indifferent to fame and fortune, and he was straightforward in nature. He was a true cultivator who could turn a deaf ear to everything and see through everything very clearly. Perhaps the so-called Shuiji was just a piece of scrap metal in her eyes. The key was that the meaning behind it was different. I wonder what Master Meng wants to compete in. Dustless was very calm. Zhang Liang, who was watching at the side, gritted his teeth. It was completely different from his embarrassing appearance just now. To a certain extent, Zhang Liang's humiliating behavior had already thrown the face of the Confucian school. After all, he was a member of the Confucian school. After glancing at Fu Nian, Zhang Liang found that this senior brother, who had hidden his strength, was also staring at him intently. His eyes were also full of blame. I have to find a suitable way to solve the current predicament, Zhang Liang whispered to himself. All along, he had been tricked by Dustless and lost all his face. If he didn't find a suitable way to reverse the current predicament, even the group of people from the Mo family would look down on him. That's right, Zhang Liang's eyes lit up as a light flashed in his eyes. He was overjoyed. Li Si seems to hate Dustless. Xiao Gao is also the same. They can be used as tools. In an instant, a perfect plan appeared in his mind. Zhang Liang's deeply shocked expression returned to normal. What does Master want to compete in? Dustless stared at Xiao Meng's eyes and asked. If Master wants to compete in poetry and history, then I will admit defeat. To be honest, I am illiterate. You are magnanimous. You are the opposite of those hypocrites. It suits my taste. Hearing this, Xiao Meng looked at Dustless in a new light. As a disciple of the Confucian school and the third master, he was illiterate. This was definitely the biggest weirdo in the history of the Confucian school. However, Dustless's attitude of directly admitting it made Xiao Meng look at him in a new light. I won't bully you. Xiao Meng glanced at Dustless and said, since that is the case, let's have a competition of inner strength. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Inner force. Hearing this, Dustless's face stiffened. He remembered that in the original work, the content of the competition between Xiao Meng and Fu Nian was the depth of their internal force. Who would have thought that it would fall on him now? Master, the depth of one's inner strength doesn't mean anything. Why don't we do it this way? Let's be more direct. Let's compete with swords. Dustless said calmly. He didn't understand inner strength at all. No. Zhao Gao was the first to step out. He knew how terrifying Dustless's strength was. If they were to compete with swords, he would lose without a doubt. Therefore, he had to stop the competition. Master Xiaomeng is a transcendent being. She is too pedantic when it comes to swordsmanship, Zhao Gao gave a lame excuse. His lips trembled, and when he was about to continue speaking, Dustless's words made Zhao Gao's face turn red. This is a matter between me and Master Xiaomeng. Who are you to interrupt? Dustless glanced at him. That contemptuous look in his eyes quietly said, "You are just a eunuch. Why do you have so much to say?" You. Hearing this, Zhao Gao didn't show his anger on the surface, but in his heart, he hated Dustless to the core. The beautiful jade in his hand was crushed into pieces by him. Moreover, you are obviously abusing Master Xiaomeng. Master Xiaomeng's sword is Qiuli, which is ranked 9th in the sword book. Now, Xueji, which is ranked 6th, is also in her hands. Obviously, she is a master of swords. Yet, you said that swordsmanship is too pedantic. Dustless caught Zhao Gao's faulty wording and hit the nail on the head. Zhao Gao stared at Dustless dumbfoundedly and said angrily in his heart, "This kid has a sharp tongue. His eloquence is much better than his strength." I am not his opponent. It had to be said that Dustless had already displayed the power of "the gentleman uses his mouth and not his fists" to the limit. Let's have a swordsmanship competition. Xiaomeng didn't talk nonsense. To her, there wasn't much difference between a swordsmanship competition and a competition of inner strength. On the contrary, the former could show a person's strength more. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. A clear sound rang out, and a cold light pierced towards Dustless's face. This woman, seeing this, Dustless frowned slightly and slandered in his heart, "She didn't even give me a chance to announce the start of the competition. Does this woman want to defeat me so badly?" But, seeing the sharp light coming towards him, Dustless was calm and composed. He tilted his head slightly and dodged the fatal cold light. Their reactions are quite fast. Slight ripples appeared in his calm eyes. Since she didn't make any substantial progress with her first move, Xiaomeng suddenly performed a fish dragon tail swing. Her swordsmanship seemed to be very skilled. Xueji was accompanied by a layer of light that could be seen by the naked eye, and it swept towards him from the left. Just as it was about to reach Dustless's neck. Puchi! Everyone was shocked when they saw Dustless's neck being crushed with one strike. This Xiaomeng is so powerful. She managed to heavily injure Dustless with just 2 simple moves. Everyone looked at each other and looked at Xiaomeng in shock. They were all dumbfounded. Dustless's strength was so strong that he could definitely be called the number 1 in the Confucian school. However, he had been heavily injured by Xiaomeng so easily. However, it didn't take long for these people to realize that they were wrong. Buzz buzz buzz, the skin that Xiaomeng touched did not show any signs of bleeding. Instead, it strangely glowed with a faint light. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, it instantly recovered. This is Soul Dragon Swim. The moon goddess was also dumbfounded when she saw this. She was a little stunned. She didn't know that Dustless knew the Yin-Yang school's profound move, Soul Dragon Swim. Chapter 1929. The moon goddess was in a daze, and her body was stiff. She did not expect Dustless to have such an ability. The Soul Dragon was a profound technique of the school of Yin-Yang. Outsiders could not learn it, and even some people from the school of Yin-Yang did not know it. The only people who knew it were the moon goddess, concubine Yen, Xing Han, and you, However, after looking at it carefully for a while, the moon goddess realized that something was not right. Dustless's body suddenly exploded with a gorgeous golden light. It contained an extremely fatal temperature, and it seemed to be able to melt steel. It was fundamentally different from the school of Yin Yang's Soul Dragon. People from the school of Confucianism even know the techniques of the school of Yin Yang. This is the first time I've heard of it. Xiao Meng sighed, but her expression revealed a hint of sarcasm. Or Confucianism is good at talking. Do they only know how to use the techniques of other sects? Ha ha ha, hearing this, Dustless only laughed calmly and replied, it doesn't matter what technique it is. As long as it can defeat you, it's a good technique. You are very confident. Xiao Meng blinked her eyes, and her figure suddenly became a little illusory. Swish swish swish. For some reason, Xiao Meng's figure suddenly floated, and a wisp of ethereal aura seeped out of her body. She only took a simple step, but it felt like she had crossed a few meters in an instant. This Xiao Meng is indeed different. She is so young, but she has already mastered the light and dust technique. Moreover, she has reached the wonderful level of familiarity, the moon goddess muttered to herself. She looked at Xiao Meng's tender face and could not help but praise her. Some people were poor their whole lives and still could not master a profound mental technique like light and dust. Swish swish swish. In an instant, the sharp blade pierced toward Dustless again. The tip of the sword was very tricky, and it seemed like it could turn. There was no way to escape, and it was about to pierce through Dustless's head. This Xiao Meng is ruthless. She wants to kill me with every move. When did I offend her? Dustless stared at the cold and gloomy face, he was very troubled. Buzz buzz buzz, although Dustless was puzzled, he still reacted for the first time. His body released a golden light. Compared to the speed of the glint fruit, any mental technique or footwork in this world was weak. Poochie. The tip of Daybreak Dream's sword pierced through Dustless's head. It happened so quickly that it was difficult to capture. Ordinary people would not have been able to see it clearly before Dustless was insta-killed. Your reaction is too slow. Xiao Meng muttered softly. She exerted force with her slender hand, and the instant she pulled out, Snow Dawn, from Dustless's head, a wave of indescribable ripples appeared in the air. Then, Dustless, who had been pierced by Xiao Meng, suddenly dispersed like a reflection in water. This sudden scene made everyone's jaws drop. People like Fu Su and Li Si who were not proficient in martial arts had no idea what was going on and were at a loss. This is an afterimage. Zhao Gao exclaimed in surprise, his face filled with unconcealable shock. It's not a Confucian movement technique either, Fu Nian and Zhang Yan both frowned. Their Confucian school didn't have such profound martial arts to turn their bodies into afterimages that didn't disperse. Only when they were attacked would they disappear with the wind, which could be used to confuse the enemy. This guy, seeing this, Xiao Meng's expression changed slightly, becoming slightly gloomy. Not to mention others, even she, the person involved, didn't know how Dustless did it. His body turned into nothingness, gathering like a shadow and not dispersing, reaching the level of being able to pass off as real. This sounded simple, but who could do it? Swish swish swish. At the same time, a sharp sound of breaking through the air suddenly came, pouncing into one's ears. A fatal danger suddenly descended, and Xiao Meng, who realized that something was wrong, once again activated the profound footwork of light and dust. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Xiao Meng's voice once again became illusory. On the surface, it looked like she had taken a simple step, but in reality, it was different. She had actually retreated more than 10 meters in an instant. With such profound footwork, it will be difficult for Zichen to win. Fu Nian's heart was incomparably gloomy. To be honest, he was also shocked by Xiao Meng's strength. Light and dust was such a profound footwork that was difficult to control, but Xiao Meng had reached the familiarized proficiency realm. How could he not be shocked? Not to mention anything else, just in this short instant, Xiao Meng had retreated more than 10 meters with profound footwork, avoiding Dustless's attack. This speed was really too fast. If you can't even catch up with others, how can you fight? All your efforts are in vain. The profoundness of light and dust is not something you can understand. Light and dust, deep and indistinct. It can achieve the effect of shifting positions, so how can you deal with me? Xiao Meng muttered softly, then raised her gaze and looked at Dustless, but found that he had become mysterious again, disappearing from her sight. It was extremely strange. Where did this brat run to? Xiao Meng frowned, her gaze spread out, looking through the limpid autumn water, looking for Dustless's trace. Usually, when you say such words, the enemy is usually behind you. A tone full of ridicule and ridicule resounded behind Xiao Meng. How is it possible? Upon seeing this, Xiao Meng's expression changed drastically, faster than flipping a book. She suddenly turned her head, and what came into her sight was Dustless's playful face and the sword tip pointing at her throat. Are you surprised? Seeing Xiao Meng's shocked expression, Dustless explained faintly, no matter how profound the light and dust footwork is, in the final analysis, it's just a shadow chasing after light. To put it bluntly, it's just a shadow following behind, and I'm the shining person who ate the shining fruit, the embodiment of light. How dare you play with speed in front of me? Do you know how ridiculous and foolish it is to play with a big axe in front of Lu Ban? Dustless's face was full of ridicule, and he didn't care about Xiao Meng's pale face at all. She didn't understand what the shining fruit was. Chapter 1930. The glint fruit could turn the host into a glint of light and could unleash the speed of light. Its greatest advantage was its speed. Xiao Meng's dust with the light was naturally much slower. Of course, Xiao Meng couldn't be blamed for this. Who asked her to find an opponent who often cheated? Glint fruit. The moon god lowered her head. Her eyes shone with a strange light as she muttered to herself, could it be that the magma fruit that Great Sea Ming told me the other time is the same as this glint fruit? The moon god's eyes were filled with desire. Ever since Dustless gave the magma fruit to Great Sea Ming, her strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. The moon god had seen the destructive power of the magma fruit with her own eyes. It was simply beyond the scope of human knowledge. So what if you are fast? Xiao Meng snorted. She was extremely dissatisfied with Dustless's attitude. He had only won one round. Did he have to be so proud? At least you can't reach it. Dustless chuckled. His words made Xiao Meng speechless. Dustless was obviously provoking Xiao Meng on purpose. He purposely chose the most unpleasant words. Brat, you will regret this. Although Xiao Meng's face was still as indifferent as before, her eyes were filled with bone-piercing cold light. Obviously, Dustless had angered this cold lady. Swish. 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 Her figure became illusory again. Xiao Meng was like a shadow in the wind. Her body instantly drifted away like a breeze and disappeared from Dustless's eyes. Fast speed doesn't mean anything. After distancing herself from Dustless, Xiao Meng stared at Dustless's faint smile. She felt extremely annoyed and uncomfortable. Especially that confident look in his eyes, Xiao Meng felt that he was a thorn in her side. It was the biggest provocation to her. Dustless's confidence was looking down on her. Let me show you the true unique skill of the Sky Sect. Under everyone's shocked gaze, Xiao Meng took out her sword from the scabbard and put it back into the scabbard. Instead, she raised her right arm and made a strange gesture. Buzz buzz buzz, a mysterious energy fluctuation quietly erupted from Xiao Meng's body. It instantly invaded the surrounding space. Prepare to die. She glanced at Dustless with contempt. Her eyes were emotionless. Perhaps in Xiao Meng's eyes, Dustless was a corpse. Heaven and earth lose color. Just as its name suggested, the space around Dustless lost its color. Everything turned grayish-white. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment, as if time had stopped. I heard her say that this move is called, Heaven and Earth Lose Color. Not bad, right? Dustless whispered. He knew a thing or two about heaven and earth paling, which could make everything around him slow down infinitely. Just like the current situation, it was like a small independent world. The Daoist human sect's rejuvenation of all things could counter Xiao Meng's heaven and earth losing color. Buzz buzz buzz, right at this moment, a wisp of a ripple appeared in the gloomy space once more, and a small hand that was pure white like jade suddenly stretched out. It seemed to intend to launch a sneak attack on Dustless. You're courting death. Seeing this, Dustless sneered and suddenly grabbed with both hands. 10,000 mammoth heavens pull. Boom boom boom. The majestic gravitational force distorted the space, and a vortex appeared in the gloomy space. As Dustless's chakra continued to output, the deathly silent space distorted violently. Especially the position where the small white hand was, it was forcefully torn apart by Dustless. Any ability is pale in the face of absolute power. The chakra that erupted from Dustless's body became even more violent. The tiny black hole that erupted from his palm distorted the gloomy space in an even more ferocious manner. The faintly discernible vortex was also constantly expanding. Caw caw caw. In the end, it couldn't withstand the raging gravitational force and exploded like a mirror. What kind of freak is this guy? At this moment, even with Xiao Meng's unshakable temperament, she couldn't help but rub her eyes. She thought that this was a ridiculous illusion that she had when she was sleeping. It's time to call it a day. Looking at Xiao Meng lazily, Dustless said, You could still move just now because I went easy on you. After all, today is my wedding day. It's inauspicious to see blood, so surrender obediently. How shameless. Young Master Ming, who had been secretly observing, immediately pouted when she heard Dustless's words. She knew that Dustless had prepared a series of plans to kill Fu Nian. Now, he actually said that it was inauspicious to see blood. His words didn't make sense. You want me to surrender? Dream on. Xiao Meng's eyes became colder. It was better to kill her than to surrender. Without any hesitation, she waved her hand lightly and an unparalleled sword attack whizzed out. If she lost, she would have to give snow to Dustless. Xiao Meng couldn't accept it. It wasn't that she cared about snow. Anyway, her sword, Autumn Dragon, wasn't inferior to snow in terms of power. The key point was that snow represented too much. How could she give the sacred Taoist item to an outsider? Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The sword light swept out, and a sharp light stood out. Ridiculous. Dustless snorted contemptuously. His body emitted a bright light, and he completely ignored the sword attack. He used the elemental transformation of the glint fruit to turn a deaf ear to it. Poochie. The sword strike cut through Dustless's body, splitting it into two. It looked like he couldn't be any more dead. He's finally dead. Xiao Meng was overjoyed, and the corner of her mouth slightly raised. However, as the light condensed, Dustless's body instantly merged into one and returned to normal. Xiao Meng's happy smile instantly became uglier than crying. It's time to end it. Huotong instantly appeared beside Xiao Meng. The high-density light compressed the heavenly sword of gathering clouds was pointed at Xiao Meng's throat. The boring competition finally came to an end. Keep it safe for me. I'll definitely take it back next time. After taking a deep breath and calming her emotions, Xiao Meng threw snow to Dustless in an extremely carefree manner. This action was also a disguised admission of defeat. Chapter 1931. Take it back. Hearing this, Dustless smiled without saying a word. Once something was in his hands, it would be impossible for it to be taken away. It was impossible for Xiao Meng to take snow back, unless Dustless took the initiative to give it to her. She lost just like that. Everyone was confused as they did not expect it to be so simple. The famous Xiao Meng was defeated so easily and it was a one-sided battle. This woman should know her place in the future. Wu Chen glanced at the expressionless Xiao Meng. Although there was no fluctuation of emotion on her face, Wu Chen could still guess that she was actually furious in her heart. Snow Calm was not an ordinary sword. This sword was ranked 6th in the sword manual. It was a sword that had been passed down in Taoism for hundreds of years. Now that it had lost to Dustless, Xiao Meng was naturally upset. Today's farce ends here. Everyone, please follow me to the cafeteria. The banquet is ready. Seeing that both parties had stopped, Moon Goddess recalled Dustless's plan and said unhappily, Dustless can go to the bridal chamber with young Master Ming. Goodbye, everyone. Hearing this, Dustless nodded and chatted with Fu Su and the rest for a while before leaving. Something is not right. This guy left home so quickly. It is definitely not the bridal chamber. Zhang Liang raised his eyebrows. He wanted to follow but could not get away as he still needed to deal with Moon Goddess. How is it? In his secret room in Mirage, Dustless looked at two people. They were Concubine Yen and young Master Ming. Taking advantage of the time, Dustless ordered the two to sneak into Zhao Gao and Li Si's residence to look for the lost Yellowstone Heavenly Book. Sorry, we did not find it. Concubine Yen and Great Master Ming looked at each other and gave an answer that disappointed Dustless. Forget it, there is no rush. Dustless did not want to dwell on this issue. He then looked at Great Master Ming and said, How are your preparations? Are you confident? I have already told you about Zhang Liang's sword moves. How is your cultivation going? Of course, I have no problem with such a small matter. Hearing this, Great Si Ming smiled faintly. Then, under Wu Chen's gaze, he suddenly put on a great show. Great Si Ming instantly turned into Zhang Liang. Swish! Swish! Not only that, Great Si Ming also took out a beautiful sword that was inlaid with jade. It was almost identical to Zhang Liang's sword, Ling Su. Young Si Ming even started to dance with it. The moves were all taught to Great Si Ming by Wu Chen. They were all moves that Zhang Liang usually used, so they were 80% similar. Good, well done. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes lit up. He grabbed Great Si Ming's waist and pulled her into his arms, ignoring Concubine Yen. He kissed her on the cheek excitedly. Later, you will disguise yourself as Zhang Liang and kill Fu Nian. Remember, you must let Fu Su and the others see it. Dustless said with a smirk. Just leave it to me. Being held in Dustless's arms, Great Si Ming squirmed for a while and realized that she could not break free. After all, she had already done that with Dustless, so why would she care about being hugged? Cough, cough, cough. Concubine Yen, on the other hand, coughed awkwardly. These two had completely ignored her existence. What are you coughing for? Concubine Yen, if you feel lonely, I have another leg for you. Dustless opened his left leg and patted it, indicating that Concubine Yen could sit on it at any time. As for his right leg, it was already occupied by Great Si Ming. Humph, Lecher, I really don't know how someone like you can control the school of Yin Yang. concubine Yen snorted coldly to hide her awkwardness. Then, she frowned and said, "But Zhongliang is with Fu Su and the others. How is Great Si Ming going to ambush them?" "That's simple." Hearing this, Dustless smiled calmly and said, "Concubine Yen, later, go and secretly tell Zhongliang that I have something to tell him. The content is that I am willing to help him recover Korea. That brat will definitely rush over without stopping. Great Si Ming will take this opportunity to kill Fu Nian and then I will shift the blame to Zhongliang." "You are trying to kill him." Concubine Yen shook her head. Concubine Yen couldn't help but shake her head. If that was the case, Zhongliang was doomed. Great Si Ming had eaten the magma fruit and his strength was vastly different from before. It was inevitable that he would kill Fu Nian and disguise himself as Zhongliang. As for Zhongliang's moves, Great Si Ming had recently learned a few of them. First, he would beat Fu Nian half to death. Then, he would use Zhongliang's moves and Zhongliang's sword to kill Fu Nian. After that, Dustless would take the opportunity to slander him. In that case, would Zhongliang still have a way out? Time passed quickly and about 2 hours later. The plan is about to start. He suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Concubine Yen and said, "Go and call Zhongliang over. Remember, don't let anyone see this. The content is what I said just now. I am willing to help him recover Korea. That brat Zhongliang will definitely come over. As for Great Si Ming, take the opportunity to disguise as Zhongliang and kill Fu Nian." "Understood." Concubine Yen and Great Si Ming looked at each other and left the room to carry out their own tasks. "A mere Zhongliang wants to fight with me. Aren't you overestimating yourself a little too much?" Dustless had countless ways to kill Zhongliang. As for Zhongliang, he didn't even have a chance to fight back. After this plan, Dustless would expel Zhongliang from the Confucian school and let him live a life worse than death. Killing Zhongliang would be letting him live in pain and endless hatred. This was the best way to take revenge on him. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.